Hi and welcome to this video. In this one, we are going to create a simple e-commerce application. Very quickly before the start of the video, if you want to stay updated with the modern web development courses and content releases, please subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the video description. Happy coding and learning. This is the app that we are going to build in this video. The stack that we're going to use for this one is going to be React, and the routing we are going to implement using React Router. We're going to write our code in TypeScript and we're going to style that using Tailwind. And for Tailwind CSS, we're going to use the latest version of that. So what is this app? This app is a simple e-commerce application, and I'm using this app to actually show you and teach you the context API of React, why we need that, what is the idea behind the context API. I could have just gone through a different route. I just talked about it in a theoretical manner, but I wanted to teach that in the context of a sort of real world project. So here we go. This is going to be the homepage of this application. On the homepage, we have 5 products. You can add as many products as you want. We have a simple file, TypeScript file, that is going to hold all the information for our products. You can add more products there. I'm going to talk about that later. So for now, what is this app going to do? For any of these products, we have the product image, we have the name, the rating, the price, and we have the ability to add it to cart. And as soon as I click that, there is one item in the cart. We could add all 5 products to the cart. And now if I just click on the cart, we are redirected to a different page. This is the shopping cart page. On this page, there is all of our products that we have selected. We can increase their number, let's say 6 mouses, 8 keyboards, like a couple of, or 3 monitors, a couple of graphic cards, and 1 CPU. And here is going to be a total. Let's say your cart is empty. You can the way you can empty a cart is you can click on this delete button. This is going to delete that specific item, or if the number of item falls below 1, the item is going to be deleted automatically. There we go. And now once the cart is empty, it's going to show you your cart is empty, and there is going to be a button to redirect you to the home page. And now that's 2 pages. So we have home page, we have the cart page, but then there is a specific or individual product page as well. So if I were to click on this mouse, we are going to see that here is the individual product. We have the product title. We have the rating, the number of ratings, description, price. We could increase the number. Now keep in mind, if it is already 0, it means that you can no longer decrease the item quantity. So this button is sort of disabled. But we could increase the number, and as soon as I increase it, you can see the button color and styles, they actually change. The cart is updated as well. So let's say I add 6 mouses. I could go to the cart from here, or I could go from there, or if I just want to add 1 item, let's just decrease it to 0. I could just click on this add to cart and then go to cart, and there we go. We have 1 item in here. Let's go to the actual product itself. Down below, you're going to see customer reviews. So as many customers have left their reviews, we're going to see all of that here. The name of the customer, the review, the actual rating, the review, and the date that they have added that. And of course, this website is going to be responsive, much like any other project that I built. This is how it's going to look like on small screen sizes. It's extremely tidy. I actually really worked a lot on the UI of this. I want it to be as pleasant as possible, and I'd like to think that I made it as pleasant as I could. And if I go to the cart, this is how the cart is going to show. So if I keep increasing the width of the window, there is going to be a lot of layout changes, as you can see. And we have a lot of layout changes on individual product pages as well. So take a look at this part, this add to cart and go to cart. So if I just keep increasing the width of the window, they go there and then they go to the side. And that's how we're going to keep that. All right, very cool project. And let's just get started with this one. We are going to get started from absolute scratch. So I have here this folder, simple e-commerce. And in here, there is nothing. So we're just going to start from absolute zero. In here, I'm going to say npm create vite at latest dot, because we want to install everything within this current directory. There is going to be a bunch of questions here. So it's going to be, yes, simple e-commerce. The tech stack that we want to use for this one, let me just bring this up. We're going to go to React, and from React, we're going to write our React in TypeScript. So if I take a look at my package.json now, we have our React version 19. We have all the types have also been updated to React to include React and React DOM version 19. We have the latest version of TypeScript, but we don't have Tailwind, so we need to install Tailwind as well. But first, I want to install everything here. So I'm going to say npm I. Let's install all of that. After that, I'm going to clear the terminal. Clear. And to be able to install Tailwind CSS, I'm just going to copy paste this command. It's npm install Tailwind CSS and Tailwind CSS Vite plugin, but I've just added this flag because I want it to be installed as a development dependency. And after installing this, there is a couple of more things that we need to do if we want to actually set up our Tailwind CSS version 4. So if you take a look at here, you can see it's version 4. And let's open up Vite config, and in the Vite config, based on what the documentation suggests, we need to import Tailwind CSS from Vite. And then what we need to do is we need to add Tailwind CSS as a plugin in here. So let me add that. Let's save this. Let's open up the source. I'm going to get rid of the assets as well as the app.css. When it comes to app.tsx, I'm going to get rid of everything. I'm just going to say export default function. I just wanted to show one thing on the web page, and this is going to be app. Just say app. Let's go to our index.css. I'm going to get rid of everything, and in here I'm just going to say add import Tailwind CSS, and this should be it. But there is actually one more step, and that is our HTML has to point to our Tailwind as well. So in here, I'm going to say simple e-commerce, commerce. And now how does this HTML is going to point to a Tailwind is we are within the main directory of this simple e-commerce folder. So I need to go to source, and from source, I need to select index.css. And let's save this. And we should be good to go. So if I come right here, if I say bg hyphen, we don't have our, let me get rid of this. We don't have our IntelliSense auto prefixer has not been installed here. So let's just say here in the terminal, npm install auto prefixer, but make sure that it is a dev dependency. Let's install that. And there we go. We got auto prefixer installed inside of our project. And for this one, let's just close this and let's open it up again. VS Code. So here is this one. I'm just going to say open with code. And there we go. Now we should be able to see that working. In here, I'm going to say layer. I'm going to select the base layer, and on the base layer, I'm going to select the body. So there is going to be a couple of styles that I want to apply in here. One is going to be that background color for our entire page. So I'm going to say at apply bg hyphen, and there we go. We have our IntelliSense now. So what is going to be the color? That's going to be hyphen 1A1A1D. And I want the text to be white. And there is one more thing that I want to do. Now, for some reason, buttons in HTML, if you hover on them, the cursor doesn't change to a pointer like links. But in this app, our buttons are actually links. So we want that to happen, because once the user hovers on them, we want to show the user that this button is going to take you somewhere. And our app should be up and running. So npm run dev should be on 5174, and there we go. We got our background color as well. So I'm going to put this side by side to our code, and there we go. And let's get started with our application. The first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually give you the data, and we're going to go over the structure of that, because that's really important in order for us to be able to actually structure our application, what kind of components we might need, and we have the completed version open here as well. So inside of the source, I'm going to create a folder that is going to be called data. And in this data, I'm just going to paste in this products. And now let's go over this. So the first thing that you're going to see is that we have something that looks like an array. So let's collapse it, and there we go. That is an array. And this is an array of products. And if this array of products is too big and it's too complicated, just go ahead and collapse it and then hover on the name. And when you hover on the name, if you are in TypeScript, of course, this works. So if you hover on the name, you're going to see an overview of the types that are being inferred by TypeScript. And this is going to give you an overview of what this array includes. So this array includes objects. Each object, there we go. Each object has an ID, a URL, a name, price, description, image, rating, and then there is this key that says reviews. And on this reviews right here, it seems like the value for it is actually another object. And there we go. That is actually another object right here. So the second object, the nested object, is going to have an ID, user, rating, comment, and data. And then what is this? This is the syntax for an array. So reviews is an array of objects. All right. But what about the products? The products is also an array of objects. There we go. There is the object syntax, and then there is the object syntax right there. So this is going to give you a general overview. And now just expand this and collapse all of the items if there aren't a lot. So if you expand this, you're going to see we have the ID, URL, name. What else do we have? We have the description, we have the image, we have the rating, we have our reviews, which is actually an array of objects. There we go. This is the object. And what else do we have? We seem to have 3 reviews for the first project, for the first product. And there we go. Here we are. We have 3 reviews. And the structure, the same structure is being repeated for other items as well. So if I go to the home, and if I click on the keyboard, for keyboard, we just have 1 review. Just click on home. If I go to monitor, we can see we have 1 review. So the number of reviews change, but the actual structure of our data stays the same. Now that you know this, I'm going to keep this on the side. Let's get rid of this config file. Let's get rid of this one as well as the index.html. So next up, what I want to implement is I want to be able to actually navigate from one page to another page. So if I come right here, so far, we just have something that says app. I want to be able to navigate to the cart page, to the individual product page, as well as to the home page. And then we are going to populate those pages with the relevant data. And the way we can go from one page to another page, that's going to be implemented using something called React Router DOM that we have not actually installed. So if I go to our package index.json, there we go. You can see React Router DOM has not been installed. And to install React Router DOM, first off, let's stop our port. So I'm just gonna stop that. I'm gonna clear everything. In here, I'm gonna say npm install. So we want to install React hyphen router hyphen DOM at latest. The latest is 7 point something so far, 7.2, right? So now that that has been installed, let's run the server again and everything should be okay. There we go. So now that React Router DOM has been installed, this is going to help us to actually implement routing. Routing simply means that we want to go from one page to another page, but we do not want to refresh our pages. So in here, I am going to create something called routes. And this is going to be an array of objects. So each route is going to be one object. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because when I go to one specific page, without page reload or refresh, I'm going to show different kind of content. So on the home page, I show this content. On the individual product page, I show this content. And on the cart page, I show this content. And this going from one page to the other, that is implemented using React Router. The first thing that I'm going to provide within an object in here, it's a path. The path is going to basically tell us where to go. Now, the home path is denoted by a /. So if I put in a / after 5173, that is not going to make any difference. Okay, I just have to get rid of that L, and there we go. We are still on the home page. So when I am on the home page, what kind of component I want to show to my users? I want to show the layout component. Now, if I go to a page that doesn't exist, you just saw that we have this page not found, and that's a different element. That's a different component. So in here, if the element doesn't exist, which means this is an error element, what kind of a component do I want to render? So it's very easy to understand. You go to a specific path or route, and then when you go to that route, what component do you want to show? You show some component. Why do you want to show a component? Because the component returns JSX, which is then converted to HTML, and then it is being shown in the browser. So in here, I'm going to say not found page, and we're going to implement these first before moving forward. So let's come right here. And the common convention is to create a folder called layouts and to put the layout right here. So in here, I'm just going to create a file. I'm going to call it layout.tsx. What do I want this file to do? I want it to return a JavaScript function. So I want this file to be a component. So how does it return? It's going to say export default function. All components in React are actually JavaScript functions. The name of the component should start with a capital letter. And so what do I want this to do? I want it to just return a string that is going to say layout. And now let's create our 404 page as well. And that one I'm going to create inside a different directory. So the common convention is to create a folder called pages, because 404 is technically a page. We're going to put that here. And now you might be asking, okay, layout is also a page because a route goes to that page. But we're going to change that. That's why it's technically layout. It's not a page. But I'm going to tell you what's the difference in there. And here I'm going to say not found page.tsx. And what do we want to do here? We basically want to do this. So we wanted to return not found page. Just that, just some text. So we know that our application, our project is actually working. Now the error is basically saying that you need to import these. And let's add commas here as well. And let's save this. Now to be able to see this in the browser, we need to actually pass this to something called create browser router. That is a function. So if I write create browser router, you're going to see that it is actually going to be imported from React Router DOM. And this is going to require an array of routes. And that's something that we have already created. Let's store this inside a variable as well. Typically, we call this variable router because this This is going to implement routing for our application. Now, once you have routing for your entire application has to be wrapped inside of that routing. Now, our entire application is right here. So we could wrap this inside of there, but you can see we actually put strict mode around our application. So the main app is app, but then the central point for the application is going to be main.tsx. So the only thing that we need to do is we need to wrap it right here. So the way you do this is if your app returns something, let's say it returns an h1 element, hi, and if I were to go to that, to come to right here, you can see we have hi. You're going to wrap your hi, this element, with this create browser router, with this router that we have created here. But since our app is not going to return anything because we're not going to write any JSX here, we're going to actually use different components to create our application. The only thing that we're going to return here is going to be router provider. And this is going to be something on the React router DOM. So I just imported that above. And this is going to require an object called router to which we're going to pass our router. So I'm just going to copy that. I mistyped it. I'm just going to pass it there. And now let's close this. And now we should be able to see our layout. There we go. So we can see it says layout. Where is that coming from? It's coming from here. Now, if I were to go to some other route, which doesn't exist, which currently there is a lot of routes that do not exist. So let's say 1, 2, 3 doesn't exist. As soon as I hit enter, you can see it says not found page. So it doesn't exist. Now that we have implemented a couple of our routes, it's important to just keep moving forward. So what is the next route that I want to implement? Now keep in mind, we are within this object. So far I am right here. This is responsible for the main route of our application, aka the parent route. Now, the way most applications have their routing is you have a parent route, which is this object, and then within the parent route, you add children routes. The reason for that is, so if I go to here, if I do /, that's the parent route. Any other route comes after the /. That makes it a child route. So come right here. So if I go to the home page, let's zoom this out. I'm on the home page. You can see home page is this route. It could have the /, and it could not have it. It doesn't really matter. So if I go to any individual page for the product, you're going to see we have our / and then we have the gaming mouse. Let's go to the keyboard. It says gaming keyboard, but it doesn't matter what it says. What matters is what is coming before what it says. So it says gaming monitor. What is coming before it? That's that /. So the routing for our application, this is how you know that the routing has been implemented using a parent-child routing. So there is one parent route, and then there is several children routes depending on the pages that you want for your application. So I want my app to have one home page, that's one page for every individual product. Now keep in mind, we're going to implement something called route parameters of React Router DOM that is going to basically help us create one route for all children. So now we have 5 items. If we were to have 5,000 items, we would still have one route because that's more sustainable, right? And then I'm going to have another route for my cart. So in general, I'm going to have 3. So I have this, but I don't want this to show the layout because the layout is going to be something that is going to be responsible for the layout, not the content. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So in here, there is something called children, but keep in mind, you don't import this from React. This is something that is available on React Router DOM. This is not children as the object or the prop that you pass to components. So inside of this children, you have objects, So children is an array of objects. So the first path that I'm going to provide is going to be /. But then you're going to say, hold on, isn't / the home page, the main path? Yes, I want the main path to not show the layout. I want it to show a different element. What do I want it to show? I want it to show the home page. Cool, right? Let's add a comma. And now I'm going to add a comma, come right here. I'm going to type this so you really understand what this is. It's very simple once you get the hang of it. Now I'm going to add the /. Now keep in mind, how am I going to implement the routing for all children, for all products, but using one route, one path? How am I going to do that? Because clearly I have 5 items in here. So for everyone, you can see the route is different. It is gaming keyboard, and then gaming monitor, and then gaming card, and then gaming CPU. So the route is different for every individual product. Should I create 5 routes, or should I come up with a way to reuse one route for as many products as there are? Let's say you have 1,000 products or 1,000,000 products. Are you going to create 1,000,000 paths? That's not sustainable. That's not good. So let's take a look at our data. Oh, we have it open right here. Now, when it comes to this, you're going to see I've provided you with something that's called URL. And the URL is something that's unique about every individual product. Of course, the name could be unique, but then the name has spaces inside of it. The URL should not have spaces. And I'm sure you already know that. So we have the ID as well. We could have used the ID because we have the ID is different for every individual product as well. But the ID 1, 2, 3 doesn't say what kind of a product that is. That's why I added the URL so we know what kind of a product that is. So the URL gaming mouse is exactly the URL that when you click on this, you're going to go to it. So we need to actually select this dynamically, this URL, and we need to change it depending on which product it is that we are showing. So in here, this is going to work using something called a route parameter. So the name of the route parameter doesn't really matter what you write in here. It doesn't matter. But I want it to be URL. And once it is URL, once the user goes to every individual product, they're going to see an individual product page, which is tailored to that specific product. So if you click on this mouse, you're going to go to the mouses page, not to the keyboards page. If you click on keyboard, you're going to go to the keyboards page. So one component for all of them. And we're going to create one last route in here. And what do you think that is? That's our cart. And when the user goes to that page, what should the user see? The user should see this component. And what are these components? Let's create them. You can see it says page, page, page. So let's go to the pages. What I could do is I could just copy their name, put it right here, .tsx, and let's create, let's just copy this from here, put it right here, and then we're going to change, we're going to change this with home page. It is convention to name the function, the name of the component should be the same as the name of your file. That's a convention. That's good if you do it that way. What else do I have here? I should create first all the pages. So this is the product page.tsx. And finally, we have the cart page. And you can see our application is actually growing. And home page, copy everything, put it here. We're going to select the home. We're going to change it to product, save that, paste that here as well. And this is going to be cart. Let's save this. So there is still errors. That's because we did not import these. So to be able to import a component, just remove the last character, add it again, hit enter. That's the easiest way. What else is missing here? What is this prettier saying? Telling us syntax error on line 24. Oh, there we go. Let's add that. Perfect. So this is our application. Clearly 123 doesn't exist. Let's go to the home page by going to the / and it still says layout. It shouldn't say that. It should say our home page. Let me see, is the server running? Let me reload the page. Let's see if there is any errors. Inside of the console, there is nothing. I know what the reason behind that is. So there is something else that we need to do inside of our layout. Now, the layout is going to be, of course, the layout of our application. And the way layout works is we need to provide the blueprint for our application. What is the blueprint of our application? So when it comes to implementing React Router DOM, there is something called an outlet, which is a placeholder for all the content that we provide within every individual route. So I'm going to create our fragment here. This is actually a component that is given to us by React Router DOM. So as soon as I do outlet, we should import this. Let me just import it. For some reason, it doesn't import it automatically. I'm going to put that here from React Router DOM. There we go. So this is the outlet, and this is going to be a placeholder for all of our content. Now, since I am always preaching semantic HTML, I'm going to put all of the content within one main element. And let's save this. The reason that I'm doing this is only because I want my elements, I want my pages to be semantic. So if you come to the completed products page, if you come right here, so we have the header. Typically the header is not included in the main, but you can see it doesn't matter what page I am. So I am on the home page, we have a main. I am on the individual product page, I still have a main. I am on the cart, I still have a main. Because I want this main element to wrap around all the elements that come for that specific page. And all the elements have a placeholder, which is called outlet. This is something that React Router gives us. All right. And we are going to add our navbar here as well later, not now. So now we should be able to see our content. Let me just close this, open it up again. Let's reload the page. Let me take a look at this. I'm not sure what's happening here. So we have the home page, which is going to the home page. So if I am on, so here we have, let's take a look at this. We have, this is going to be the main path that is going to show the layout. If we go to the layout, we're going to see this. We have a path and we have a home page. We have a path for our URL. We have a path for the cart. In here, we have created, we have called our browser, create browser router. We have passed in the routes. And then a router provider is also in here. Return router. Everything seems okay. Let me check if other pages work. So if I were to go to the cart page, it says not found. It didn't find it. Everything seems to be okay, and we don't have any kind of errors inside the console. So we have a path, we have the element, the error, the children is right here. There is no syntactical type errors or typos. There is nothing. So this is path element, and we have included the children. I think it is lowercase. See, let me just lowercase this, save this. And now if I just refresh the, oh, there we go. That was lowercase. So the reason that was uppercase, it was because I actually imported that from React and I forgot to change this. So now if I were to go to the home page using /, we got the home page. And let's take a look at the HTML for it. We have our main app, which is root, and then we have the main element right here. Very good. And if I do something, you can see anything that comes after the / for now, that is going to show our product page. So it could be something, it could be something 1, it could be something 2. So even if there are 10 million products, this one route using route parameter or URL parameter is going to work for all of them. And now that we have implemented the routing, the next step for us would be to actually go to our home page and start creating our application. So what I'm going to do here is I should be closing some items. I'm going to keep these two files open. Let's jump into our home page. Whenever I start writing any component from scratch, what I do is I get started with writing its HTML or its JSX. That's the easier part. And then if there is any part that I want it to be dynamic or show content dynamically or programmatically, then I implement that as I move forward. So what do I want to have here for the home page? So if we take a look at our completed application, if we are on the home page, we have our nav bar. So we start from the top. If we go to an individual page, we still have our nav bar. If we go to the cart page, we still have our nav. So nav bar is something that is going to be unique in all three places. So for that, the first thing, it's always a good idea to just have our fragment open. For the nav bar, I'm going to create a header element. Within the nav element, we are going to have one button that says home. And then we're going to have this cart that is responsible for showing the number of items in there. So in here, let's create, let me get rid of this. Let's create a nav element. And within the nav element, I'm going to create a UL. The way that I'm going about this, you don't have to go this way. This is just my preference. I think this makes it HTML. This makes the HTML semantic. That's why I'm going like this. Now, within the LI, if I want to write an anchor element, I could do that, but then I want these buttons to actually navigate to different routes that we have inside of our application. So if I click on the home, if I'm in the cart, if I click on the home, I should go to the home page. And when I'm in the home, I click on the cart, I should go to the cart. So I am navigating from one route to the other route. And in routing, we don't use the anchor element. There is actually a link element given to us by React Router, and we're going to use that. Now, when it comes to the link element, it must have an attribute that is called to. To specifies where this link is going to go if the user clicks on it. So where do I want this link to go? I want it to go to the home page. Let's save this. Let's take our application, take a look at that. So if I click on this, this should go to the home page. And as I'm hovering on it on the bottom left corner of the browser, you're going to see the home route. We're going to implement styles for this shortly. So the home page was created, the home link. Let's create a link for the cart as well. This is going to be link. Where do we want this to go? Now, where was the route that was responsible for the cart? You can just copy paste it from here. So just copy it, put it right here. And then this should have an opening tag and a closing tag as well. Now within here, what we're going to do is we have that cart icon. If you take a look at that, there we go. We have the icon. And for that, I'm going to basically stop this port and I'm going to install another React library. That's npm install lucid-react at latest. Let's hit enter. Let's take a look at our package.json. Shouldn't take long. There we go. We installed Lucid React. And now we have access to those icons. npm run dev. Let's run our server again. And we should be good to go. Let's reload this. And there we go. We're good to go. All right, so what is the icon that I want to insert here? The icons, the way you can select them, they're actually components given to you by this library. That's a shopping cart icon. And as soon as I save it, it didn't import it. Let's actually import this as well. So I'm going to come to the top and I'm going to say import shopping cart from Lucid React. Save that. And what's wrong here? So in here, I'm going to have a span element that is going to contain the number of items that we add to our cart. And there we go. The icon has been added. So if I click on the icon, you can see it goes to the cart page. But if I go back, if I click on the home, it goes to the home page. Now, if I click on this cart, when it goes to the cart page, you can see we don't have this header. Because we don't have this inside of our cart page, we don't see the button to go back to the home page. So for this one, let's actually create a, why am I in all caps? Let's create a span element. This is going to have the number of products that we want to add. For now, we are going to call it product count, and we're going to come back to this variable. Don't worry about it for now. So we're done here. Before moving forward, there are some styles that I would like to apply. These are just for styling purposes. These are some Tailwind CSS classes. I do have a Tailwind CSS playlist here on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this, but if you're not, you can just go ahead and watch them. We add a background color, some padding on all axes. We have this sticky because if we go down, if you scroll, we want to see this navigation. We have a position for it, a Z index, and a blur effect. You can see anything behind this navigation is blurred out. There are going to be some classes for the UL as well. Let's just apply it on the UL. Let's save this and reload this page. Product count. I could just say, for now, I could say count. Just write it there so our application is not breaking. And there we go. There is going to be the count. Perfect. On the link, I am going to have this style. This is going to go on this link. This is just some flex because we want the items, the number, and the cart to be on one line. And what else? The first link, because that's the home link, I am going to enlarge this. So right here, I'm going to add that class. And finally, if I take a look at the span, you can see the span element has some styles of its own as well. And for that styles, let's just paste this one. Now we should be good to go. There we go. Now the word is going outside of it is because we are expecting a number to go in there, not just a word. So for now, I believe our header is done. Let's collapse it. Let's move forward. So we know that whatever comes right here, that's going to be a child of this main element. With our current implementation, if I were to go to here, we should see that the main element wraps the header as well. But in our completed application, if I were to go to here, we can see the header and the main are actually siblings. So what's happening here? That's because later on in this video, when we try to implement the context API, I'm going to actually show you why we have to get rid of this, why we should put it inside its own component. But for now, it doesn't make sense if I refactor the code at this stage. You might be having this question, why am I doing it? We need to face a problem, then we're going to solve it. We're not going to solve a problem that doesn't exist. So after that, I'm going to have a section element. This is my preference. The section element is going to have an h1 that is going to say gaming products. There we go. And after that, there is going to be a div. This div is going to act as the container for all products. So within this div, there is going to be individual divs. How many products do we have? We have 5 products. So I could provide 5 divs. Now, is this the correct way of doing it? Because if I take a look at my content, I could say, okay, I select this products array and I get the first item like this. I could say products and then give me the first item, products. And I could do this programmatically, right? And then for the second div, I'm going to say, give me the second product and give me the third product. So you can see this is something that I have to do over and over and over manually. But that's not the optimal way of doing it, because what if there were 100 products or 1,000? You wouldn't be able to maintain that. So we need to come up with a way to do this programmatically. And that's why we're going to use our a method that is given to us that is going to do this for us for an entire array. It doesn't matter how many items there are. And that is the map method. Now, I want to do something that relates to JavaScript inside of my something that looks like HTML, which is in fact JSX. So whenever I want to do something like that, I need to open up curly braces. Now, we are going to select all of our products, which we have not imported. So as soon as I hit enter, this is going to import it for me. And then I'm going to do a map. Now, a map method is going to return an array. And what it does is it's going to implement one specific thing for every individual item within an array. One specific thing. What is that specific thing? That specific thing is to generate a product, to display a product. That is that specific thing. And how do we do it? So in every iteration, the map method is going to select one item from the array. And when it selects that item, in the first iteration, it's going to select this first item. So when it selects the item, we're going to give it the picture, we're going to give it the title, we're going to give it the stars, and as well as the price, as well as this, and the remaining HTML and styles. So it does it for one item, and then we wire it in a way that it does it for the other items as well. And we don't have to do it manually like I just showed you. So if you are iterating over something called products and you want to do something for one individual product and then you multiply it to apply for all products, what is that individual product called? It is product. So this is how you name the variable or the parameter for this map method. This parameter, this is what I like to call this as is a loop agent or a loop variable. So this product is going to be something that goes into this array and selects one item from there. So it is going to select this item. And from this item, there is a bunch of information that I want to show here. And then there is a bunch of other information that I want to show here. So in the individual product page, you can see we have the reviews from here. But in the home page, we don't have the reviews. We just have the stars. So this is how I am going to go about this. All right. And I'm sure this is making sense. So what do we do for an individual product? We create the HTML for it. How do we create the HTML? And now, when it comes to organizing your HTML, it's preference. No two developers do it in the same way. So the way that I'm going to go about this is one div is going to be one product, and then map method is going to repeat this div for as many items there are within that array. So there are 5 arrays, it's going to generate 5 divs. Within each div, I'm going to have an image, title, rating, price, and this button. So none of these are clickable, but if I click on the image, it goes to the individual image page. So the image is actually a link, as I've shown you. This is a link, right? Where this link goes? This goes to here, individual product page. So let's just copy that, put it right here. But now this URL doesn't work in here. We need to select that specific product's property that we want this click to go there. How are we going to do that? So we want to do something JavaScripty. So I'm going to open up curly braces, and in here, instead of these double quotes, I should have backticks because I am actually trying to create a template literal. So what I want to do in here is I want to select the product. Now, since we're using TypeScript, as soon as I do the dot, we're going to see all the properties in there. So which one of these is unique, as we have talked about before? URL. And then you need to add a $sign. That's some syntactical thing. You need to add a $sign there as well. And now there is a syntax error. The reason for it is because the curly braces that I provided, they were the syntax for the template literal, not for our expression. And that's the outer curly braces are for our expression. So this link is going to include a figure element. Where is the figure element? Figure element is going to have an image inside of it. Again, I'm going semantics. So semantically, you should have a figure. Within there, you should provide your image. Where is the source of the image? Let's take a look at that here. Here is the source. So the only thing I need to do is I need to select that source in here. Where are we? So in here, if I do product, now again, what did I tell you? I said this was a loop agent. So it goes to the array and it selects one item. So if I do the dot, there we go. And from that item, from every individual item, you have all of these details. We're going to select the product.image. And then you should provide an alt for accessibility purposes. That's a very good practice. So we could say product.name is going to serve as the alternative text for this figure element. If I come right here, reload the page, we don't see our images. The reason, and we see the alt text. The reason that we don't see our images is because we don't have anything inside of our public. So the way that I've wired this application is we are going to read the images from a folder called assets from the public directory. So the browser can read it better. And now if I refresh, there we go. We are going to talk about this error in the console, but for now, let's take a look at our beautiful images. Very good. Now, if I click on any of these images, we should go to that specific page for that specific product. So far, within that specific page, we just have one text. So this one goes there as well. This one goes there as well. But what's the difference? The difference is the URL that we end up with. So I clicked on the monitor. I went to the monitor, I click on graphics card, I go to the gaming card. Very, very cool stuff. So we did all of this with the help of the map method. Now, it is asking us that every list should, the child that we create. So we created 5 children, 5 div elements. Every one of them should have a unique ID. So the way you can add that is, the reason for that is, because React has to know which item is which. It should have a unique identifier. Because if you click on the gaming mouse, React has to know that it should open the gaming for you, the gaming mouse or the keyboard. So React needs to keep track of which item is which. And the way it does it is you could provide the indices, which is not a good practice. But for us, the way we're going to go about this is we're going to add the ID, because the ID is also, you could add the product URL, but in here, it's a better practice if I just select the ID. And if I save this, reload the page, the error is gone. There we go. Very cool stuff, right? Now, since we have gotten our products, we need to move forward and create the rest of this div so we can see the remainder of the content for every individual product. So in here, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div. Again, highly preferential. There is going to be an h3. This is going to hold the title for the individual product. Now, again, keep in mind, I am doing something programmatic inside of my HTML, which is technically JSX. So I need to have curly braces open. That's called escaping into JavaScript. Now I'm going to select the product. I want to get the title. So dot, which one, name. Very good. That's the title. If I save it, we got the title beneath the image. Next up, what do I want to do next? I want to generate all of the stars. Now, I am going to come back to the stars because I'm going to do it in a unique way. But for now, let's just leave it as it is. So I'm going to create a paragraph that is going to show the price. This is going to be product.price. And there we go, we got the price. So that's that div. And after that, we're going to create a button that is going to basically say add to cart. Let's save this, and there we go. We got our add to cart button. On this button, I'm gonna add an event listener, because whenever I click this button, the number inside of our cart in the header that we created, that count, it should increase. It should increase. So when I click this, I need to run a function. That function is going to be a state setter function. We're going to come back to it. But for now, let's just do a console log. Let's say success. Let's save that. Let's get rid of this. Let's save it. Perfect. Let's come here, reload the page. Now, if I click on add this to cart, you can see we got success, and it works for this one as well. And now we have 2 successes, 3, and then 4, and then 5. So we got that. Now, instead of console log, we need to increment this count. But before incrementing the count, let's show the remainder of the content, which is the stars. We're going to style all of them, and then we're going to implement the rest of the functionality. Let me get rid of this console log. This was just for testing. And in here, what we want to do is whenever we click this button, we want to add the item or the product to the cart. So it should be an add to cart method. And then what product do we want to add? We need to differentiate which product it is that we're actually clicking on. So in here, we're basically going to pass in product.id, and I'm going to save this. Now, before moving forward, I want to add an icon here, because if you take a look at our completed app, there is actually that shopping cart icon. And I'm just going to get that from the library that we installed. There we go. That's our shopping cart icon. Let's come right here. There we go. Now, let's style also this section so we can see everything better. For the section element, I'm going to paste these classes. These are just layouting classes. So as soon as I save that, there we go. There is a little bit of spacing there. For the H1, since this is the main H1 of our website, we should make it bolder. We should make it bigger. And then what else? So for this div, now these styles, they're just there to make our website look good. They don't have anything to do with the functionality of the website, just so our website looks better and it's more user-friendly. And most of these styles, they refer to responsiveness. I'm going to paste that there, and I've worked a lot with these, so you don't have to worry about it. This is going to be applied on this div. So let me just put that there. There we go. You can see as I'm pasting these styles, the elements, they are looking better and better. This is for the figure element right there, just some height. For the image, we wanted to have or to grab the 100% height and width of its parent element. And what else? We're going to have a vertical space for this div. And after that, this is going to be the styles for the H3 that we have here. Let's save that as well. Now here, before this price right here, we are going to have to basically display the rating for every individual product, these stars. And after pasting all these styles, I am going to come back to it and I'm going to show you how you can implement that. And I'm going to give you the mental model for it as well. Finally, for the button, we have, where should I put that? Right there. Make sure the styles are in the opening tag. And I'm also going to apply a height and width on these elements, these icons. So it's going to be size 4, which is a height of 16 pixels as well as a width of 16 pixels. And we don't seem to have our border. So let's remedy that. That border is applied on every individual product, so it should be right here. And I've applied that. Here is the border. It's border left. This is the color, and then we have the padding as well. And there we go. Now we have it. It's right there, but it's so like stuck to the edge of the page. So what I need to do is I need to go to our layout. So if you take a look at this, here we have the main element, and on the main element I'm just going to apply a padding all around with a value of 6, I think would be good. There we go. Now we can see that the nav bar is also has the padding all around it, which is not something that we want. We don't have that in the completed version. That's because the nav bar should not be within individual pages. So the nav bar has to be within our layout. But then I want to show you why we need context, and then I'm going to basically take it out and put it there. For now, I just want this to be not refactored, and then we're going to refactor it using the context API. I want to show you why you need context. All right, so that serves it. That's going to serve its purpose. There's still a couple of things remaining here. The first thing that I will add right now is the stars for our rating. So where is the stars? That's right above the price. So right here, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to apply them. Now, how am I going to go about this? Because I told you that I'm going to give you the mental model. Let's first take a look at our products. We need to take a look at what we have in the data. So for the data, what we have is we have a string that has a value of type number, and that's 5 here. All right. For the second item, it's 4, and then it's 3, and then it's 4 again, and it's 5. So it could go from 1 to 5, but the maximum is going to be 5. So I know that. So I need to create 5 items. I need to have 5 stars. What I can do is I could, right here, I could say there is actually a star component on this Lucid React, which we can select, and I could give it a size of 5. Let's import this star as well. Let's save this. So if I come right here, you can see we have 1 star and size 5. There we go. This is 1 star. And then I wanted to have a background of yellow if the product has that star as a review, but then if the product has less stars, I'm going to show them as gray. So if the product has 5 stars, all of them are going to be yellow. If it has 4 stars, only 4 of them are going to be yellow and 1 is going to be gray. So it depends on the product, right? So in here, I could say text yellow. What should be the shade? I could go with 300 or 400. I could go with 4. So there we go. We got that. Now I can just copy paste it 5 times. And there we go. We got 5 stars. And the way I can lay out this is I could just put it inside a div or inside a paragraph or inside a span. And I could just basically lay out this. All right, that's okay. But the problem with this approach is, so the first product has 5 stars. Okay, what about the second product? The third product, the gaming monitor, it doesn't have 5 stars. It should have only 3 stars. So this one has 4 stars. This one has 5 stars as well, but it should have 3 right here. There we go. We got 3. So what should I do now? So what I can do is I could use conditional rendering, right? I could say, okay, if the number is something, whatever the number is, generate those many items. But how can I implement that? So if the rating is 5, generate 5 stars. If the rating is 3 generate 5 stars, but only color 3 of them. The remaining 2 should be gray. So you can see there is like a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. First, it is that you should have 5 stars no matter the rating. The issue comes when we want to style that. So we need to come up with a systematic and programmatic way of styling this. So instead of repeating ourselves 5 times, what I can do is, because I want to do something based on programming, so I'm going to open up curly braces. That's the world of JavaScript. And in here, I am going to select a method that is called, I'm basically selecting this constructor for an array in JavaScript. So all arrays come from this array object. This is an object that creates every array that you see in JavaScript and in TypeScript. All of them come from here. So I want to create an array that has how many items? So it's going to have 5 items no matter what. Now keep in mind, I want to create an array here. And this array 5, this is going to give me an array. But then I want to iterate over this array of 5 elements. And depending on the number that I have in the products.ts file, I want to color those many stars. And then I want to apply on the other color, on the remaining stars, I want to apply some other color. But the problem with this array is that this is an empty array. And you cannot map over an empty array. So you need to have 5 things inside of an array. So the way that we can convert this from an empty array to an array of 5 elements, it doesn't matter what the elements are. Keep that in mind. It doesn't matter as long as there are 5 elements. I'm going to surround this with square brackets and I'm going to spread the items. Now, this is going to be an array of 5 undefineds because there are 5 elements, but they're undefined. And again, we don't care what they are. We just want 5 elements. Now I can map over them. And in each iteration, I could get 2 things. One is the actual item, which is undefined, which I said we don't care. So I'm going to pass in this underscore. And the second thing that we are going to get is the index for that item, which is something that we want. So I'm just going to write I for index. And now, what do I want to do in here? So in here, I want to generate 5 stars. So that's going to generate it for me. Why 5? Because we passed in 5 here. So I could just select one of this, just cut it, put it right there, get rid of the remaining, and let's save this. And now we should have 5 stars. Technically, we should have them. There we go. We got 5 stars here, 5 stars here, and for the remaining. Now, one part of the problem is solved, and that was repeating ourselves several times. And now the thing comes, the actual trick comes when we want to implement this color. So let's go over that trick, as I want to call it, because it is actually a trick. So we selected the index because as the items for that array is just undefined, that's okay, the index. Now, how do indices work in an array? They start from 0, and as many items as there are inside of an array, the last index is going to be 1 minus that. So within our array, we have 5 items. So the largest index is 4. Okay, let me just... biggest, I'm going to say index. This starts from 0 and it goes to 4. That's okay so far, right? So let's first take a look at this one. It has 5 rating. The rating is 5 for this one. Now, for this item, what I want the index to show is the largest or the biggest index, which is index 4. So for a rating, because we know that the largest rating number is going to be 5. It never will be 6. It never will be 7. That's why we created 5 items intentionally. So the largest index is 4 and the largest rating is 5. So 4 is less than 5. Let's implement that. So we want, this is the largest index, and the largest rating is 5, right? So 4 is less than 5. Okay. Let's go ahead and implement this. Now I want to apply some styles conditionally. So what I need to do is I need to actually convert this, get rid of these quotes, surround this with backticks because I'm trying to use template literals. I'm going to cut this text. Now let's bring in the syntax for a template literal. And now keep in mind, since we are doing template literal, this entire thing should be surrounded with curly braces as well. So what do I want to do here? So as long as the index is less than, keep in mind, the largest index is still less than the largest rating. Where is the rating? So if I take a look at my product dot, there is our rating. So if the index is less than the rating, what do I want to do? I want to implement that yellow color. So let me put that class in here, but we should put it inside quotes. Otherwise, what do I want to do? I want to implement another class, and that is gray 400. And I'm going to save this, and this is going to work. And I'm going to go over this. So far, what we said was the largest index is still going to be smaller than the product rating. That's why we say index is, as long as index is less than rating, we want it to be yellow. If index is larger than rating, we want it to be gray. In which scenario index is going to be larger than rating? All right, so the largest index is 4. You know that, right? So let's take a look at item number 3. This the one that has an ID of 3, our gaming monitor. For this one, the rating is 3. So when the rating is 3, how many stars do we want to generate? We want to generate 3 stars. So the index is going to start with 0. So the first index that's going to go into that loop, that's going to go into that array and loop it, it's going to be an index of 0. So 0, our rating is 3, so I'm just going to put that 3 here, and this is going to be 0 at first. 0 is less than 3, so the first star is going to be color yellow. Okay, in the second iteration, the index is going to be 1, but keep in mind, the rating is still 3. All right, so now we have 1 star, but once the second iteration starts, the star is still going to be yellow because this condition holds true, so we implement this one. In the third iteration, the index is 2, right? In the third iteration. And we generate another star because 2 is less than 3. But what about in the fourth iteration? The index is 3. So far, how many stars have we created? We created 3 first iterations and 3 stars. But in the fourth iteration, this condition no longer holds true. So the star's color is going to be gray. What about in the last iteration? 4. Is 4 less than 3? No. So we implement this one. So we got 2 stars that are gray and we got 3 stars that are yellow. And there we go. Rating is 3, meaning 3 stars are yellow and the remainder of the stars are going to be gray. And this is why it works. Product.rating. And now you might be asking, okay, what if we have like decimal point ratings, 3.1, 3.2, or like we have 10 ratings for a product and then this rating is going to show like 4.9. So in that scenario, what you can do is you can just wrap this inside of a math.floor or math.ceil, and that depends on your basically that depends on you. So do you want to floor it? If it is 4.4, do you want to show 4, or do you want to show 4.5, or do you want to show 5? That's up to you. So you can implement this right here. And in fact, I encourage you to go ahead and implement that. All right, we talked about this a lot. We got this part done, but then all the stars are like this. So I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to say Control Shift P, wrap wrap with an abbreviation, and I'm going to wrap it with a div. And after I've wrapped it with a div, let's apply these layouting classes, and there we go. So if I go to the top, our products should look similar, except for this one, which is a little bit small. The rest is okay, I believe. So we have this product 5 stars, 4 stars, 3, 4, and again 5. For this product at price, I believe that's it. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Now, what is the next functionality? And for now, the last functionality that we want to implement in here. So the last one is whenever we click on this, we should be able to add a count in here. But there seems to be an error, and that's because we're generating stars and we don't have any key provided to them. Now, here is where you can give unique keys. You can specify them as basically the index for your specific item. Now, you should not provide it here. Whatever item is being repeated, you should provide it there. So as soon as I do that, refresh the page, the error is going to go away. Here it's okay if the unique key is the index of that specific item. I'm going to copy the name of this function from here, and let's go here. There we go. And let's declare that function. So as soon as I declare it, what this function requires is something called product ID, which is going to be of type number. Now, once I click this function, I want to show a number. I want to change the number inside of the nav bar. Now, how am I going to change this? Now, keep in mind, we are changing something in the UI, and we are in React. So we could go with useState, or we could go with useReducer. Since this is a simple change in the UI, we're going to go with useState. So what is it that I want to change? I want to change the cart number. So I'm going to say useState. What is the initial number in there? Well, the initial number is, I don't know what there is. So what am I going to do here? Now keep in mind, we are talking about the cart, and later on, we should be able to use this cart in its own cart page, and we should be able to show the items. Now, this cart is not going to be just responsible for showing a number. It's going to be responsible for having or containing all the information when it comes to any specific product that has been included inside the cart, that has been added to the cart. So it's not just one number, it's a product. So initially, this is going to be an empty array, but then I'm going to type annotate this useState as well. The type of this is going to be cart item, because we are in TypeScript. Why shouldn't we leverage that? Let's import useState. Now we know what useState is going to give us. It's going to give us a state variable that's going to basically hold the value of that item, whatever that is. And since we are talking about cart, why shouldn't we call it cart? And then it is going to also give us a function that is going to change that value to something else. And the convention is to just call it something and then set something. Let's initialize this as well. Before moving forward, let's create our cart item. So as you know, I am in favor of actually using interfaces, because we're talking about, even though it says an array, this is going to be an array of objects. So I need to denote that here as well. Every product is one object, and then if we have 5 products inside of the cart, the optimum way to show these is going to be using an array. So I'm just going to say it's going to be an array. So every cart item is going to have 2 things for now in here. One is going to be product ID, which is going to be of type number. And what is the other thing that's going to have? It's going to have quantity. Quantity. That is going to be of type number. Now, this product ID is extremely important, because we are going to cross-reference this product ID with the products that we have inside of our homepage. And if they are the same, then we are going to move that product to the cart page itself. All right. So this is going to be our cart item. And so far, I believe that's enough. And if we needed anything else, we're going to be able to create that. Now, here I need to pass in the product ID inside of this add to cart. We're going to utilize the set cart method to change the UI. So I'm going to say set cart because at the end of the day, when I say add to cart, when I click on it, this is going to change the number. So we are going to utilize this. Now within here, what I'm going to do is I need to first check if the product ID given to us from the cart is the same thing that is given to us from the button element clicking on the product. We need to compare them together. So I'm going to say cart.sum. And this is going to give us a Boolean. If that's true, then we are going to map over the items. If it's not the same item, we're not going to do anything to it. We are basically going to return it. All right. So the reason that we do this is because we want to see if that item already exists inside of our cart. If the item exists, we don't want to have it have a count of 1. We want to have it something plus 1. So if there are 5 items, we want it to be that something is 5 plus 1, we want it to be 6. So we need to have this condition right here. And what this is going to do is this is going to have item dot product ID. This comes from our cart. If this is equal to the product ID that has been passed to this function, to this add to cart function, then what do we want to do in here? We're basically going to say, this is a ternary operator. So if this is true, we are going to map over our carts. So let's grab our cart and we're going to map over it. And in each iteration, we're going to select an item from this cart. And in here, what am I going to do with this item? So I am going to check this again for the product ID. So if product ID, if item.id is equal to the product ID, the reason that we need to include this item is because it doesn't matter what the item's properties are. So it's the name, the picture, whatever, the price. We don't want to change anything else. We just want to increment the quantity. Now keep in mind, we are within the truthy block of the sum method. It means that the item is already in the cart. So if the item is already in the cart, we get the quantity and we increase it by 1. So how do we get it? Now, if this ID is the same, we get all the previous properties of this item, but from there we just grab the quantity and we set it to item.quantity plus 1. So if the quantity is 4, 5, if it is 10, it's going to be 11. So this yellow bracket right here, this is the end of our map method. And outside of this, we still need to have the other part of the first ternary that we had. So if the IDs do not match, what do we want to do? That basically means that the item has not been added to the cart. So we are going to grab all the items from the cart. Now keep in mind, the reason that we are spreading items using the 3 dots is if there are 5 items inside the cart and you want to add another item, the item should be added to the cart while keeping the previous items inside the cart. We don't want to add one item and in the process remove all the previous items. That's why we're going to basically say, give me all the previous items using the spread operator, but then the product ID item is going to have a quantity of 1 because it didn't used to have a quantity. Now it has a quantity of 1. This should be a comma right there. Let's save this and it's going to basically rearrange it for us and we should be good to go. But but instead of this count, we should show that product quantity. So this is going to increment the quantity or add it if it doesn't exist. So if I come to our code, where is our product quantity? This one. That should be inside the nav bar, right? So let's go to the nav bar. There we go, there is the count. So I need to select product.quantity. This is the function that is going to change the quantity, and we call this on the button inside of our section element. But then we have this cart item that has a quantity property on it. So what I need to do is I need to grab the quantity from there. Now, how am I going to do that? Keep in mind, cart item is actually an array. So I'm going to say const product, let's call it product count. So what do we want to do? We have an array of objects that has several properties. Every object has several properties on it, but I just want to have one thing, and that's the quantity. So I want to convert an array of, I don't know how many items of objects, and there is a lot of information within every object. I want to convert all of that, aka reduce it to a number. That's why we use the reduce method of arrays. So I'm going to say cart.reduce, and this is going to give us a sum, which is going to be our aggregator, and then the actual product. Now, for every individual product, I am going to grab and I'm going to sum the quantity of that product. So this is going to be product dot, and as soon as I do dot, there we go, there is the quantity. And this method is going to require an initial state as well, and that's going to be 0. Let's save it. And there we go, we got that. But there is another problem inside of the UI. We don't have any number, we don't have any items inside of our cart, but this still shows the circle that we created. We don't see that there. So if we have an item, we show that circle. If I reload the page, the item goes away, but then so does the circle. We are going to fix that here as well. So next up, let's copy this product count. Where was that? Where should I put it? Should I put it right here inside of, yep. Just put it right there, and let's jump into our own page. There we go. So it's 0. If I click on this, there we go. We got 1. We don't have any errors. We have 7. And now every individual product is going to be different. Keep in mind. And we're going to show all of this once we create the cart page. Very cool. Very cool. Right? Awesome. Now let's take care of the circle. We don't want to see this number. We don't want to see the circle. So how can I implement that? It's going to be this span is responsible for it. So I'm going to basically wrap this with a pair of curly braces. Now here is some good old conditional rendering in React. So if we have a product count, which is larger than 0, then we want to show this. So I could do a ternary, or I could just do a double ampersand, and that's going to basically take care of it for me. So if the product count exists and it is larger than 0, then we want to show this. Otherwise, we don't want to show even that circle. So there we go, the circle is gone. So if I click on it, there we go, the circle is back. Reload the page, the circle is gone. I believe we should enlarge this icon as well. Shopping cart, class name, size should be 5. Oh, got smaller. What about size 8 or 10? There we go, much better. So far, everything that we wanted to do inside of the home page, we have completed all of that. The next page that I'm going to complete is going to be the product page. So what do we have within the product? For the product page, we want to show every individual product. So if I click on this image, it should show me the page for that mouse. If I click on the keyboard, I should show that. So if I come right here, if I click on this, we see this product page. If I click on this, we still see the same thing. So for this one, let's jump into the product page. Now, within our product page, we need to select all of our products. We need to cross-reference their product IDs or whatever it is that's unique about them. And then depending on what's that, we need to show the remainder of the information for that specific product. Now within this, what do we have that's unique about every individual product? And I'm pretty sure you already know that. So this is the same, the component is the same, okay? So that's at our current implementation. I want to ask you, what is unique? It's this URL. And we can grab this URL and we can determine which product page it is that we are on. So if we are on the mouse, we can see we have gaming mouse. If we are on the keyboard, we can see we have gaming keyboard. So from this URL, we can match our items and get the item and basically show it in there. That should be very simple for us, right? So I am going to get rid of this. Again, if you don't know what to do with your component, the first thing that you should do is just return the JSX. What do you want this component to do for you? Some of the things that we want to do for this specific page, they have already been created, they have already been done for us. So we want to show the nav bar, we can just copy paste it from here. So I'm going to collapse this, I'm just going to grab this header, come right here, and let's create our fragments, and I'm basically going to paste it there. I'm going to close that. I'm going to create a section element in here as well. The section element is going to be responsible for showing the remainder of the content that we have. We seem to have a lot of errors because we have not actually imported these. So let's import the link. Let's import the shopping cart. What else do we want to import? That should be it. So if I come to here, we can see within the header, we have the product count that we should import, that we should get from here. And again, I know we are duplicating code and that's the entire idea of this video. I want to show you what the use case of Context API is. So we need to have this product count, and then the product count relies on this state. So I need to grab that state. Let me copy that and put both of them right here. Let's import use state. What else do I want to do here? Let's come right here. Let's get this type, put it here, and there we go. We got our nav bar. So we should be able to go to the home page, and then we should be able to go to that specific product page. Now, if I click on, if I'm right here, if I click on this add to cart, it should be able to add it to cart. So I need to have this add to cart functionality here as well. And we're going to use that. And what else do I want to have here? Let's get started with the actual semantics of our application. So let's collapse this. Let's come to this section element. So what do I want to create here? I'm going to create the H2 that is going to be responsible for showing the title. Now keep in mind, I want to show the title of the product. I don't want to hard code that. So it should be something like product dot whatever the name of the product is, product dot name. But we have not actually imported our data in here. So we need to import that as well. Import products from data products. Now that we've imported the products, which product it is that we want to show. And I already told you that we're going to cross-reference the product that is on the page with its URL. So we want to cross-reference that. Now, on all of these products, we have something that's called URL. So if I say const product, now, again, I have an array of a lot of items, but I want to find one thing from it. So I'm going to say products dot find what it is. What is it that I want to find? Let's grab every individual item. I want to find the URL. So as soon as I do item dot, there we go. We got the URL. And then if this URL is equal to what? If this is the same as what? this should be the same as the URL that we have inside of this URL search bar. How do I get this? So this URL comes from my products. Okay, all right, I know that. But the other end of this, it comes from React Router DOM. How can I get that? Now, this is a parameter. Remember, I talked about this is a URL or route parameter, and React Router DOM gives us a hook that is called useParams. And useParams is basically going to give us access to these kind of URL parameters. This is going to give us an object, and within that object, we have our URL. And there we go, we got it. And now, if the item URL, since this is product, this is going to be item. If the item URL is equal to the URL that we got from React Router DOM, then that means that we are on the same item. We have selected the same item. Then I want to show that item. So far, we have created the title for that. Possibly undefined. We could just pass in the non-null coalescing, and that should fix it. There we go. So refresh. I'm going to go to the home page, click on the keyboard. We got the title for the keyboard because both of them have the same URL. And that's why I have added URL in here. So we could do this. I could see the future. And this is the monitor, this is the graphics card, this is the CPU. And now in this manner, we could show the rest of the data for every individual product. And the remainder of the way that I'm going to go about this is going to be extremely preferential, depending on how I want to structure this, how I want to style this. So if you take a look at the layout actually changes several times. See? There we go. Like here, if you take a look at these buttons, they change their layout. Now they go there, and then we have this. So it depends on how you want to style this. Now you have access to the information. You can just pause the video and go ahead and do it on your own. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div. This div is going to be responsible for showing the stars that we created here. So why not just copy all of that, put it right here and save this. Let's import the star as well. Let's go to our completed page. There we go. And after that, this div, I'm going to create a span element. Now in here, what I want to do is I want to show how many ratings are there. I want to show that. So for this one, I'm going to say product.reviews.length. We're going to get the length, all right? And then if the length is equal to 1, I want to show rating. If it is 0 or higher than 1, I want to show ratings. So the number comes from our products, basically the product's data, and the letter is going to be, the word is going to be dependent on that as well. So it's going to be product.reviews.length. If this is equal to 1, I want to show rating. Otherwise, even if it is 0, it's I feel like it's okay if I just say ratings. So now there we go. So there is 1 rating for this one, but for this one we have 3 ratings. And let's provide a space there as well. They're stuck together, so I'm just going to provide a space there. There we go. Now there is a space. Very cool. We're going to style this once we are done with this. So next up, I'm going to create another div and a figure element, an image that's going to be responsible for showing the product.image. And then for alt, I could just say product.name, product.name. Let me add the quality. There we go. We got the image as well. So if I click on the keyboard, we get the keyboard in here. Very, very cool stuff, right? After this, I am going to create another div in here, which is going to be responsible for showing the remainder of the data of our product. This div, the reason that we have a lot of divs and a lot of contain elements, that's just because we want to lay out this website in a way that's responsive. Paragraph, this is going to show product.description. We're going to show that here. We're going to have another paragraph that is going to be responsible for showing product.price. I'm going step by step. So we created these, created the image, this one, and now we should be able to create these buttons. For the buttons, we're going to put them inside divs as well, because there is going to be one container responsible for these three. So this is one button, another number, and then another button. And then we have two more right here. So since their layout is going to change, they need to have different containers. And let's go ahead and let's create them. So in here, after this paragraph, I'm going to create another div. And within here, I'm going to create another div. This is going to contain two buttons. One of the buttons is going to be the minus button. The minus is the icon for the minus is going to come from our Lucid React library. So if I save that, we should be able to see that minus right there. That's the minus button. And then the minus button is going to have something inside of it next to it that is going to show the quantity right there. The next button is going to be the plus button. And yes, that is going to be imported from our icon library as well. Let's just save this. Oh, we have this quantity that has not been declared. That's why there is an error. We are going to fix that. So I am going to get out of this div for these three buttons. And in here, I'm going to create another div that is going to include the button that is going to say add to cart. So we have already done something like this in here. And it was this button. It's the same button. So I'm just going to replace it here, save that, there we go. It says add to cart, and the styling for this one is going to be a little bit different. So let me just fix the styling and then we're going to move on. There we go. It's a little bit different. So after that button, we need to have a button that is going to move or navigate the user to the cart page. Now, should that be a button? No, that's a link. There we go. Link. And where is that link going to take the user? The link is going to take the user to the cart page once the link has been clicked. And what should it say? It says go to cart. Let's save that. So if I click this, it goes to the cart page. But this one is going to add it. And you can see it's already functional. It is working. But this one should add it as well. It doesn't because we have not actually applied that. And we are going to apply it just now. So first let me fix this. So this go to cart, this is going to have an arrow next to it, after it, right there. So it's going to be arrow, and let's import the arrow as well. Arrow right. Perfect. What is not okay? There we go. We got arrow right. And finally, we need to show the reviews down below. So if I come right here, you can see there is some kind of styling thing. And then we have the reviews. So the reviews are going to be outside of all of these divs. For now, I'm just going to say reviews. Reviews. Come on. Reviews. And this is going to be a component which we are going to create. And this component, I'm just going to create it and I'm just going to basically make it return a simple text. And then later on, we're going to fix that. So inside of this source, I'm going to create a folder. This is going to be components. And this is going to be reviews.tsx. Export default function reviews, plural, yeah. And this is basically going to return a simple text that's going to say reviews. We don't want to have any kind of errors inside of our application. That's why I created that. Very good. Let's save this. Let's come right here. And there we go. We got our reviews. So I'm going to go from top to bottom. You know what? I could pause the video right here, apply all the styles because we're not talking about them anyway. So why should I make you watch that? I'm just going to go ahead, pause the video, apply the styles, and I'm going to come back. And there we go. I'm done with these styles. Let's move forward with the quantity. We seem to be missing the quantity from here, and we should be able to add it there as well. We can add it. We can go to the cart page, but we should be able to implement the quantity using these plus and minus signs as well. So if I just bring this back, the reason that it doesn't work is because we have not actually selected the quantity from our cart. Now imagine, where is the quantity? The quantity, let me get rid of this icon. The quantity is on our cart. So let's select it from the cart. I'm going to come to the bottom right here, beneath this function, not the bottom, beneath the function. And here I'm going to create a function that is going to be called get product quantity. And this is going to accept a product ID because that is going to be the comparison criteria. The type of that is going to be number. So what do we want to return from this function? We're going to grab our cart and we're going to find something from the cart. And that thing is item.product_ID. If item.product_ID is the same ID that has been passed to this function, which is product ID, if that's the same thing, then what do we want to get from here? We want to grab the quantity, because keep in mind, when we iterate over our cart, we get individual objects. And within that object, we have a property that's called quantity. We get the quantity. Or if it doesn't exist, we're going to get a 0 from there. And now I'm going to say const quantity is going to be equal to get product quantity. And then we're going to pass in the product dot, where is this product coming from? It's coming from this above. So we pass in the ID of the product for which the URL is okay, for which the URL is the same. So we pass in that right here. What I could do is I could just cut that, put it right here so you can really see where that's coming from. So we're going to say product.id. And there we go. We should be able to get the quantity. There we go. And now there is that styling. If the quantity is 0, we want to implement some sort of a styling. And that one I've already implemented. So the good thing with Tailwind is that if this button has an attribute or a state that is disabled, then we're going to implement these two styles. Only if it is disabled. Otherwise, the styles are not going to be applied. So what I'm going to do is right after our styles, I'm going to say disabled. This is going to be equal to our product quantity. So if there is quantity, where we don't want to disable this. It means if the quantity is anything other than 0, we don't want to disable it. But if the quantity is in fact 0, then it's going to be disabled. There we go. It's disabled. And now if I click on this, you can see it's not increasing it because this plus button requires an event listener as well as this minus button. Both of them require an event listener. I could implement one more class on this because it shouldn't be selectable as well. And I have not implemented that in my completed app because I just thought of it. So if you hover on it, on this minus button, when you're not allowed to go below it, when it is disabled, it should show that as the cursor here as well. So for this one, I'm going to say disabled. This is going to be cursor not allowed. Save that. Come right here. There we go. You can see cursor is not allowed. And then it's allowed here. Very good. For now, the final thing that we want to do in here is to be able to increase the cart quantity for this specific item by clicking on this plus and reducing it by clicking on this negative. So on this minus button, we are going to implement an onClick. The onClick method is going to be used to basically call a function, and that function is going to be remove from cart. And then you need to have a criteria to compare which item it is that you want to remove. So for that one, I'm basically going to pass in the ID. We are going to create this, but for adding an item, we already have a method. onClick, and that is the add to cart method. We have already created that. So this is add to cart, and then let's pass in product.id as well. So clicking on this, you can see it adds it, and once the number goes above 0, this button is being enabled. But then I can't go below 0 because I don't have this method. I have not created this function. So here we have the add to cart. Beneath it, I'm going to create a function that's going to be accepting a product ID with a type of number. So what do I want to do here? I will do something similar as I did above. We are basically going to grab our cart and we want to reduce one item, one quantity from a specific item. So let's select our current cart, and I am going to have this current cart.map. Let's iterate over it because the cart itself, or the previous cart or the current cart, remember that's an array. So we are going to iterate over it, and the loop iterator is going to be this item. If the item.product ID is equal to the product ID passed into this remove from cart function, if it is the same thing, then we want to basically remove one quantity. Keep in mind, we want to decrease the quantity by 1. And you need to also keep in mind, we don't want to change the title, we don't want to change the text, we don't want to do anything else. So we need to select all the previous properties for that specific item. And from there, we are going to select the quantity, and we're going to say, okay, the quantity should be -1. And that's the only thing that we want to do here. But if the ID doesn't match, we don't want to do anything to that item. We simply want to return it. And finally, we are going to, let me take a look what is wrong in here. There shouldn't be this. Let me get rid of that. Let's save this. Let's reload the page. There we go. So if I click on this, it's 1. It's 1 in there as well. If I click on it, it's 0, and you can see it's disabled. Let's go to inspect just to make sure there aren't any errors that require fixing. So let's refresh the page. No errors. And you don't have to worry if the item's quantity falls below 0, because we have already done that using HTML and Tailwind. So you don't have to implement it right here. If it goes below 0, you don't have to worry about it. This button is disabled, so no one can go below 0. And since it's the same state, this cart state, if I click on this plus, it starts from 10, starts from the next number. But then if I add this add to cart, it starts from the next number, because we're always spreading the previous information for that specific product, and then we add on to that previous information. And that's why it's 11. It's not like when I click on add to cart, it starts from 1 again. Now it's 11, and then now it's 19, and then it's 20. All right. And aside from this reviews, we are done within this page. For reviews, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass in the reviews from this product page to our review component. Now, the reason that this is a component, not a page, it's because it's a simple part. It's a small part of our product page. It's not like the reviews are an individual page. That's why it's just a simple component. Now, I could go two ways. I could import all the products inside of my review component and then check their product ID from the product page and then show that specific product. But or what I could do is I have done all of these checking. I've checked the URL, I've checked the ID, I've done all of that inside of the product page. And the review component, so let me just collapse this as well, or maybe this one, and there we go. So the review component is a child component of this product page. And I've already implemented all of this logic. So as soon as I pass in a product, that is going to be the same product. That's going to be the correct product because we have already checked that here. So instead of repeating myself inside of the small component, I could just pass in this product to this review. So I'm going to say reviews. I'm going to call this reviews. Now keep in mind, what is the type of reviews? The type of reviews is an array. And that's really handy because we know we are going to use the map method to iterate over it to show individual reviews. And for that one, I'm going to say, give me the product. So where is this product coming from? It's exactly this product. So I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to delete it, put it there. And as soon as I do the dot, you're going to see we have this reviews. If I hover on it, this is an array of objects. We have ID, user, rating, comment, date. We have passed it to this review component. There is an error because our component with the current implementation does not accept something that's called reviews, which has a type of an array. So we're going to destructure that immediately in here, and we need to type annotate this as well because TypeScript doesn't know what the type of this is. So I am going to basically call it reviews props, and we're going to create the types. Don't worry about it. And this is the JSX for this is, again, when it comes to HTML, JSX, that's highly preferential. This is my preference, the way I'm going to go about this. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be another section element beneath the product. This is not a separate page. This is just a simple section element. For the H2, I'm going to say customer reviews. And then we're going to create a div that's going to hold all of our reviews. Now, reviews are an array. So I'm going to say reviews. And as soon as I do the dot, we should be able to see all the methods. But because it's not type annotated, it doesn't know what it is that we're talking about. So let's just create the types interface review props. What's going to be the type of this? The review props is going to have an array of individual reviews. I could create all of that here, but I have found out that separating types, that makes it more readable. Who would have thought of that? Let me pass that there. So what do we have for every individual review? Let's hover on it. There we go. We got all of this for free. Just copy it, put it right here. And there we go. The section element, oh, we have created that. Let me get rid of it. And there we go. We got our customer reviews. So the child component is feeding properly into the parent component. The remainder of the stuff is something that we have done several times in this video. So we select something. Now, the general way of iterating and showing this kind of stuff is you select something that's an iterable or countable or an array, and you map over it. The map, it's going to give you something, and that thing in this scenario is a review. And every time you have a review, you generate HTML. But keep in mind not to return from the map method. Just have an implicit return, not an explicit one. Within the div, it's preferential. I'm going to go with an H4. You could do an H3. You could do a paragraph. I'm going to go with H4. Why? Because there is no reason. just so. And after the review, we're going to show the review stars. We have already implemented that here. So I should just select this. They are within this div that has, let me just select it. We're going to create the div. So div, and let's just pass that in there. We need to import the star. We need to have our product.rating. We no longer have product.rating. We have review.rating. And there we go. Very good. Now, why review.rating? Because now we're talking about individual reviews. Cool. Save this. There is this dot. Is that a dot? What is that? Where is that coming from? That looks like a dot. There we go. There it is. Very cool. Let's move forward. After that, I am going to create a paragraph that's going to have the review.comment and another paragraph that's going to be review.date. Save that. There we go. So we have all the information. The next step is for me to pause the video and apply all the styles, and I'm going to see you in a second. And there we go. We're done right here. For the stars, I've implemented another class, fill yellow 400, just so that this review is different than this one. These are individual reviews. Now we should be okay with our individual product pages. So let's go back. Let's click on this mouse. For this one, we have 3 reviews. Now remember, I've applied all the styles, so you don't have to worry about responsiveness. There we go. See? That's why I applied all the styles, because there is just a ton of them to show this, to make sure that this website looks awesome on all pages. So if you go further, like bigger screen, just click on this plus, you can see it works. There we go. You can go to cart. We are going to fix the cart page as well. There is that issue that once you move to a specific route, the cart is going to be empty. The cart is going to be 0. Even though when implementing routing, we're not refreshing the page. Now keep in mind, we don't have any backend, like we don't have any local storage or backend to store these products. So if you come in the future to this website, you should see your products. This is not a fully fledged e-commerce app. I am going to create one of those as well in the near future. This is just a simple e-commerce app that I want to show how to use a context API, but that's besides the point. Once we have routing that doesn't refresh the page. So why, when I have one item inside the cart, I go to that individual product page, it goes away. But what about the completed app? So let's go to the home page, add 1 item, 2 item. If I go to that individual product page, it stays because the page is not being reloaded. So what's missing here? Well, what's missing is because all of these states, they are separate. Their name is the same, and that's the only thing that they have in common. And I mean this state right here. So we are on the product page, and this state is just specific to this product page. If I go to the home page, come right here, we are on the home page, and here is our state. This is specific to the home page. It has nothing to do with the product page. So the way that I'm going to solve this issue is to use React's context API. Let's go ahead and let's create a context, and then we're going to talk about it as well. So I'm going to right click, create a folder, and I'm going to call it context because we're going to put the context right here. And what is the context revolving around? What should the context relate to? The context relates to our cart, because if we change our routes, the cart, the count for the cart, it just gets zeroed. There is nothing inside of there. So I'm going to call this cart context, and as a convention, you could call it context as well. And this is a component, so we're going to keep the naming convention as the component. Now, before moving forward, I need to tell you what this context actually is. And it is, as the name suggests, it's a context. So as you talk with someone, or you write an essay, or you write a message, everything revolves around the context. All right, so when you talk to someone, you talk about something, that thing, the theme of your conversation, that's a context. That's the context for your conversation. Now, for our React application, the theme of the application, I don't mean by the theme like the way the app looks. By the theme, I mean the way the app behaves, like the topic of our application. That is going to be the context. So you can think of the context as the core idea of our application. And if I pluck it out, the application is not going to work. The application is going to have no meaning whatsoever. So that's a context. It's the same thing as we have in English language. It's the same thing that we have in React. But of course, they work in different ways. So the context, the way it works in here is we use this to pass data and values around. Why would we want to do that? Because if I come to my homepage, I already said that this state, this looks like the state that we have in our product page, but they are completely different. And both of them look the same. So we have repeated one state in two different places. Now, instead of doing this, we can extract the state, put it inside of its parent component, and then give it from the parent component to the child components. But with my current implementation, the parent component is responsible for routing. So I don't want to do that. And that's why I'm going to create another file that's going to hold this context. And I'm going to call that cart context. Now that you know what a context is, why we need it, as I'm going to move forward and start coding this, you're going to understand that more and more, and you're going to get that aha moment, and you're going to say, oh, now I understand what the context is. You need to also know how the context works. There are three parts in a context. The first part is you need to create a context. I'm going to write it because we're going to go step by step. The second thing is you need to provide the context, because by this point you will have created it. And the next point is consume the context. So you create a context, you create a theme for your conversation, a topic, you select a topic, and then you discuss that topic with someone else. And once they reply back, you're actually consuming that topic. So the same thing goes in React. We create it in here, we provide it from here, and wherever in any other component that we use this context, that's going to be the consumption of the context. So the first step is to create a context. To create a context, it's very simple. We're just going to say create context. And let's hit enter, and then we are just going to get it from React. Now, this context is going to have an initial value. The initial value is, I don't know. I don't know what the initial value is, but this is going to change. So because this initial value is going to change depending on how many products there are inside the cart, I need to type annotate this so I understand it better. And what I'm going to call this is going to be cart context type. And we're going to come back to this step. So this context is going to have a cart context type, or it's going to have a type of undefined. Now, I have this context. I need to store it somewhere, right? Now, this is going to return for me a context object. What did I call that? I call that cart context. So I'm just going to keep my naming convention the same. There we go. We just created our very first context. Now, we are not going to move forward with providing the context because so far here we have this unknown type. So that falls under the umbrella of creating a context, and I'm just going to create that type. And this is going to be very, very interesting. Cart context type. What should this type include? Now, what's the name of this type? The name of this type is cart context type. This means this should include all the properties for one single product that go to the cart page. Now, if we go to our completed application, if I just add this, let's go to the cart page. What are all these different properties? We have an image, we have a name, price, we have the ability to decrease an item, we have the ability to add to cart, like increase that, we have the ability to remove it, we have the total, and we have the sum for that total letter, and then the total word, and then the sum for that total. So we need to take care of all of that within our cart context type. Now, the first thing that we're going to have is going to be called cart. And this is going to be one single cart item, but we're not going to have one single of that. We're going to have an array of that. And I'm going to come back to that, and we're going to create it as well in here. And then we have the ability to add something to cart, to add to cart. And what is this going to be? This is a function, right? What does the function signature look like? Let's take a look at that. So here it is. We have add to cart. It accepts one parameter or argument. That's product ID, which has a type of number. So let's just copy it from here, come right here and put it there. Now, what does this function return? It doesn't return anything. So if you take a look at it, it says void. So in here, I'm just going to say void. There we go. So we created the add to cart. The next one is remove from cart. And what is this? This is also a function. And we created that right here. So we have remove from cart. And this also receives an argument with the type of number, but it also does not return anything. What else? What else do we have here? So the next thing is we have the ability to delete one specific item completely. And that's this trash icon right there. Even though we have not created the signature, the actual function, we can come up with the signature. We have a pretty good idea of what it is that we want to do. So I'm going to say delete from cart. And what is this going to look like? It's going to look like exactly this one. The functionality of this function is different, but nonetheless, it's going to receive a product ID and it's going to do something with that. But it's not going to return anything. And next up, we have this product quantity that we need to show right here. So we have the product quantity inside of the nav bar, and we also have it inside here as well. So we need to get that as well. Get product quantity. This is going to be a function. If I come right here, there we go. We have already created that function. So I'm just going to copy that from there and I'm going to put it here. The reason that I'm doing this copy pasting is so you know that I don't like pull these out of my pocket. They are actually existent inside of our application. The next thing is our total. Let's get that cart total. What is that? Is that a function? Is that a string or a number? That's a number, so it has a type of number. And finally, we are going to list all of our items. Now keep in mind, when we talked about this number inside of the navbar, we talked about it in two different contexts. We talked about it in two different ways. One way was we created something that was called a cart item. And that was basically the value from, we got this value inside of the navbar from this quantity. So that's the cart item. We have already created that right here. But the actual products, they need to have a specific type in here as well. So that they're going to be called cart products. And let me just fix this, products. So every cart product is going to be one individual one. So I'm gonna separate these type annotations so it's easier for us to go over them. But we're gonna have an array of that. So far what we need to do is we need to create this cart item that which we have already created. So I'm just gonna cut it from here. Keep that in mind. I'm cutting it from there. And I'm gonna put that right here. There we go. That first one is created. But what about this cart product? Have we created that? No, we don't have it here. And what about here? We don't have it here. And I'm going to get rid of this from here as well. Now, for every individual product, we're going to have several different properties. And we could technically get them from our products. So if I just come right here, click in there, just collapse this. If I hover on this, there we go. So we get an ID, URL, name, price, description, and then we have the image, the rating, and then we have the reviews. So what I could do is, technically, I should be able to just grab all of these up until the reviews, just copy that, come into the cart page, And I'm going to create a different interface. And what should this be called? This is called cart product. And let's put everything in here. Now, the review is going to have a type of review. And let's take a look at our review component. Where is that? It's right here. And there we go. We have already created this review component. So the review component has the review type or the review interface. And we also have the review props. So what we could do is we could select both of these, cut them from here, come to our cart context, put both of them right here. There we go. So far, everything is clear, right? Let me just zoom this out a little bit so it is more visible. There we go. So we have all of this. The reason that I've accumulated all of them into one place is because we're going to actually put this inside of its own file right now. So I'm going to come to the source. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say types. Now, since we have one major file, where we will have one major file that is going to feed all the types, I could call that technically index.ts. And this is going to have all the types inside of it. So now let's just select all of these types, cut them, come to here and paste them. And the only thing that you need to do in here is just say export. And that's it. So we're going to export them, and I could delete it. I could close this file. And let's start importing them. So this cart context type, I should be able to import it. There we go. We just imported that. Now, when it comes to our review component, product page, as well as the home page, we are going to fix their errors as soon as we are done with creating this context. So the first step of the context is done. We have created the context. The second step of the context is to provide it. And since this is technically a React component, we know how to do that. We know how to work with it, how to provide it. So we're going to say export default and then function, because this is a React component at the end of the day. So what is the name of this function? The name is going to be cart provider, because this is the second step. We want to provide this. And it will accept some things in here, but let's just first return from this what we want to return. Now, what we want this context for us to provide, it depends on different pages. So let's go to the home page first, and let's see what we want this to give us. For the home page, the only thing that we want to get from this context is this add to cart. So if I go to the home page, that's the only thing that I want this cart context to provide me with. That is just add to cart. And we're going to go step by step so we can actually really understand how this works. So I want this to provide me with a add to cart. But keep in mind, we are within our context API and we need to provide it. And the way we provide it is to use some sort of a provider. And this is actually the syntax for a context API. And I'm just going to say cart context dot provider. This is going to provide our context. And for this one, let's just close this. This is going to have an opening tag and a closing tag. The reason that it has the opening tag and the closing tag is because this is going to surround our entire application. Now keep in mind, this is the context. So this is the topic of our conversation. And the topic surrounds our entire conversation. So in here, I am going to pass in something called children from React. Let's lowercase this. And we need to import this as well. We need to make this context accepted. So in here, I'm just going to say children, and there we go. And the type for this children is children React dot React node. So children React dot React, where is React node? There we go. And that's the type. Let's remove it from here. We don't need to do that. There we go. So this is our cart provider or cart context provider. Now, the thing that this context provides, that is going to go to the opening tag of this this JSX element. If you take a look at it, you're going to see, okay, this is actually a JSX element. And in here, I'm going to write value. And what do I want this to provide? Now, keep in mind, this is going to pass on an object. So I need to open up the object syntax in here. And the first thing that I want this to actually pass on to my component is our add to cart functionality. And since we have not actually created that, that's why it's yelling. Let's just come right here. I'm going to cut this entire thing. Let's just cut it. And then let's come right here. And since we want to provide this, this should be within this function. Let's add it in there. Now there is a bunch of errors in here because I pasted it in the wrong place. We should go right here just before the return. Just add it there. So what is the error? The first error is it's not finding the use state. So because this hook is going to be general for our entire application, I'm just going to cut it from here and I'm going to paste it right above the function. And that is going to make some errors go away. Now we need to import this use state as well. And now we have this cart item. Let's import that as well. I just imported both of them from the types. What seems to be the problem? And let's just hover on this. It says type add to cart product number void is missing the following properties from type cart context type. So it is missing the, let me just highlight this for you. So it is missing the cart, remove from cart, delete from cart, get product quantity, and two more. And why is it saying this? Because I just want to have add to cart from it. That's because we type annotated that, remember? So we type annotated all of these, but we are selecting one thing from it. So there is going to be a mismatch in the type. So what we need to do is we need to add all of it. So the first thing that I'm going to add is going to be the cart itself. After add to cart, I'm going to say remove from cart, delete from cart. What is next? Get product quantity. What is next in here? We have the cart total. What else do we have here? We have the cart products. Now we have created a couple of these. So if I were to go to not the reviews, to the product page, we still have our add to cart, so we don't need it in here. Let's just get rid of it. We don't need the state as well. We're going to fix all of that. We have the remove from cart and we have the get product quantity in here. Let's just cut both of them and let's come to our cart context. So here we have add to cart. I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to add these. And there we go. So what seems to be the problem? The problem is the cart total, the cart products, and the delete from cart. And the issue with these is we don't have our cart page. So how should I know what it is that I want to do? So the thing could be that we should be able to comment this one out, comment this one out and this one out, save this. Let's come in here, comment this one out, this one, and this one. And that's it, because we want our context to start working. And from here, I am going to move on to our home page and we're going to import that. So we seem to have a lot of errors. We don't need this use state anymore. We have this cart. So I'm going to come right here and I'm going to start using our cart context. Now keep in mind, we completed two steps of the 3 steps for creating context. Let's jump in here. Let's first take a look at that. So we created a context. That's step 1. We provided the context. That's step 2. And the third and final step is to actually consume the context. Now, we don't consume the context in its own file. So consuming the context, I'm just going to cut this, come to the home page, and I'm going to paste it there. We consume the context where we want to use that inside of our components. So for this one, I'm going to say use cart, and let's just open up parentheses. What is this use cart? This use cart is the hook that is going to allow us to consume this context. But where is this coming from? Well, we should create it within our cart context. That's a part of the providing of the context. So in here, I'm going to say export function use cart. This is basically going to signify that our app relies on a specific context. And as I said, this context is going to surround our entire application, and we haven't done that as well. So let's go ahead and first create this hook that is going to basically push our context so it is available for our entire application. And for this one, we are going to say context use context is going to be the hook that is going to provide our cart context. And now if some other developer comes along and uses our application in a way that doesn't rely on the context provider, we should warn them as well. So we're going to say if context is undefined, this is very simple. We're going to throw new error and what it is that we want to say. A typical generic message would be the name of your hook or your context, and then we're going to say must be within a, and then again the name of the provider. So your use something must be within something provider. That's a generic message. And finally, what do we want to return from this function? We want to return the context. Let's save that. That's also, again, part of the providing the context. And now we need to make sure that our application is surrounded by this context. And how can we make sure? We are going to tab over to our app.tsx. And in here, we have this router provider for our React router. And we're not going to do anything specific in here. I'm just going to cut this. And I'm going to say we have our cart provider. Whoops. Let me just provider. There we go. We get that. This is actually a component that has an opening tag and a closing tag. And I'm going to pass in the router within it. So the router surrounds our application, and then the cart provider surrounds the router. And let's save this. Let's tab over to our, where is the home page? There we go. So now in here, we have access to this use cart. So let's import it. What is this use cart going to have? Now keep in mind, we are importing an object. Why? Because we exported an object. That's what the context gives us. What do we want from that object? We want to have this add to cart from that object. And that's it. We also have this product count in here. And the idea behind this was to just increase the count inside of this header component that we have in here, this header part. And I'm going to just comment this out for now. And let's see what else seems to be the problem in here. Let's just save this. It says there are two problems in this file. Let me just go over the code, and they should be within our header. Yeah, because we have this product count and product count. And as I'm here, we know that we have already used our header in two different places. We used it in the product page, in the home page, and we are going to inevitably use it inside of the cart page. So it is actually a very good idea to extract it into its own component. And the way we're going to do that is basically, let's just collapse this, cut it, come to here. We're going to go to our components. This is a component. This is not a page. So I'm going to come right here. I could say navbar.tsx. And within this file, we're going to create a function export default function. And what is the job of this function? The job of this function is to export something called navbar. And what is this going to return? This is going to return this for us, this HTML. But within this HTML, we still need to import this shopping cart icon. And we need to import the link. Let's just import that as well. And finally, we need to have the number of products within our cart, so we can show it inside of the navbar. And that's where this product count comes in. So I am going to cut this entire thing, save that. let's come right here. I'm going to put that in there. Let's just comment this one in. Now, it doesn't exist in here because the cart that comes from our context. So we need to use our use cart hook, and this is going to give us access to that cart. Remember, const, and let's save that. And now it should be working fine. Well, we still have a few issues inside of our reviews. Let's fix this first. Let's import the type. Review is perfect. It's completed. I'm going to close this because there is a lot of files open up and I want to make sure all of them are just tidied up so we can move forward. Inside of our product page, we still have this product count. Now, we don't need this because this relates to our nav bar. We gotten rid of the nav bar. We put it somewhere else. So I'm going to get rid of that here. But how am I going to show it inside of my application? Well, remember, we have a layout. So I'm just going to go to the top. I'm going to say, give me the nav bar. Nav bar. And there we go. Let's save this. And now we have two nav bars. This is the individual product page. Let's save everything in here. There are a few errors that we need to fix. So on this page, what do I want to get? I want to be able to show the product quantity, as you can see that there. I should be able to add something to the cart and also remove something from the cart. So this is our use params for our router. And beneath that, I'm going to say, what do I want? So I want the ability to add something to the cart. I also want the ability to remove something from cart. And I also want to have this get product quantity that we have put inside of our context. And where are these? They are on our use cart. And what else is missing? There we go. We got our page back, but there seems to be two things wrong in here. And that's the quantity. Even though we have the quantity, don't we? We have this quantity in here. What is it saying? It says comparison appears to be unintentional because types of void and number have no overlap. Quantity has a type of void. Get product quantity. Let's go to the types. So get product quantity, it is going to return a void, but we don't want it to return a void. We want it to return a number. Let me go to the implementation of this. So, oh, it does return something. There we go. So it returns in quantity and or 0. So it returns a number. So if I hover on it, you can see it has a return type of number. So I have type annotated that incorrectly. So instead of this, I'm going to say number. This is the good thing about TypeScript. This is why we use it. See? Real world example of it. And now we don't have anything wrong here. So let's refresh the page. Let's go to the inspect. Thank God we don't have anything in there. So let's go to the home page. Let's add it to the cart. Go to the individual product page. And there we go. We have our item. And not only that, we have actually implemented the functionality as well, because the item, there is actually one item inside of the cart right here. This negative button, this remove from cart button is actually activated. So if I remove this, you can see there is nothing in there. So let's keep adding, let's say 8 of these. If I come right here, we still have our 8. And this is why we use context. For this specific reason. And I'm going to get rid of these 2 pages. I believe we're not going to use them. So I'm going to get rid of our nav bar. We don't need this anymore as well. We still need our context. I am going to keep these types open. Let's keep the product open as well. Let's close the layout. The next step for us would be to actually go ahead and create the cart page. So if I click on it, we can see there is nothing, but we have 8 items. It doesn't matter which items, but we have 8 items. So let's come right here. We have our cart page. Let's jump into the cart page. And as always, the first thing that I would like to do here is create the HTML. That makes the most sense. So I'm going to have a section element. Within there is going to be an h2 that is going to say shopping cart. And after the h2, we are going to first check if there are any items within our shopping cart. If there are any items, we're going to show them. Otherwise, we're not going to show that the items, and we're going to show a different message. So if I come right here, if I get rid of everything, you can see we have this. And what is this? There is just one title, and then there is the ability to actually go back to the home page. So this button, this is actually a link that we need to actually provide in here. So we want to do something JavaScripty, right? So I'm going to say cart dot length. What is cart? We haven't imported that. Let's import it. So we have this use cart hook. And from this use cart, for now, let's just get the cart. And as I am importing stuff from or consuming stuff from the cart context, again, I forgot to mention for the product page, that was the consumption. And now we're consuming the cart context inside of our cart page. So as I am consuming different items, I am going to import them then, because you need to understand why we're importing them from our context hook. So if it is equal to 0, I want to do something. I want to say, okay, your cart is empty. Your cart is empty, and I'm going to be able to, I should be able to give them an ability, give the users an ability to go back to the home page. So in here, I'm going to create a div. So if this is true, then I'm going to do this. Within here, let's create an h2. The h2 is going to say, I believe I need to provide it within parentheses. Yeah. So the h2 is going to say, let's come right here, this text. Your cart is empty. There we go. And after the h2, we are going to have a link, which is going to go to where? It's going to go to the home page. And what this link is going to say, the link is going to say continue. Can I just copy this? Yeah. Continue shopping. What seems to be the issue here? So we cart length is equal to 0. Let me take a look at the print here. Why is it yelling at me? Expected div 17. So let me just cut this, get rid of that. So if there is that, then here I'm going to provide our div, and there we go. So this is a ternary. You need to have the other part of the ternary as well. And what is the other part of the ternary? This is going to show our products. So for now, I could just say a div element, your products, because this is a big element. I'm just going to say your products so we can get it to work. Now let's come to our application, and there we go. So we have this shopping cart, which is the title on which I'm just going to apply these styles. So it looks better. There we go. That's the shopping cart. Now, since there are items within our cart, it's going to say your carts, because that's what we have specified here. But if I go to the home or the individual product, just make it 0 and now go to the cart, refresh the page. You can see it says your cart is empty, continue shopping. And if I click on continue shopping, it's going to take me to the home page. And we are going to fix that refreshing the page. We shouldn't refresh the page for the changes to occur. So this part is done. And right here, there is going to be a div, but it's not going to say your product. It's basically going to provide the blueprint for individual products. So let's add a product. Maybe let's add a couple of products. So as I'm adding, or maybe all 5 of them. As I'm adding these products, there we go, it changed. We should be able to see these as I'm adding the content for them. So in here, I want to programmatically get all the products, so I'm going to have cart products, and these products are within our context, so we need to consume them. Cart products dot map. Where is this coming from? Remember, cart context, it gives us this cart product. So I'm going to comment this one in, save it, go to the type, comment this one in, and save it. And what is the problem? No value exists, cart products. We need to actually implement this cart products. So where should I implement it? This is going to go, here we have our use state hook. Beneath there, I'm going to implement this. So we have something called cart products. And what is this going to give us? What is this going to be? I'm just going to give you a disclaimer. This is going to be the most complicated part of this entire application because there is several things that we're going to do and several things depend on several other things. I know that was extremely vague, so let me just break it down for you. Let's go to the home page, add a product, and add this one, add this one, add this one, and add this one. So I just added 5 products, correct? I'm going to increase this so we can really see what's happening. So I added 5 products. But what did I do actually? Let me just decrease it a little bit further. Let's come to our home page. I need to explain this so I'm sure that you know what it is that I'm doing. I added 5 products from the home page, but to the cart. Now, when I added products from the home page, what did I actually add? Did I add the product image? Did I add the product name, stars, price, or these individual functions that come with each product? Did I add those, or did I just add an ability to determine which product it is, aka product ID, and the number for that specific product, the quantity for it? So in fact, I added 2 things. And if you remember a while back in here, we had one specific type. What was that type? So if I go to here, if I come right here, what did we have in here? We had a cart item for the navigation, remember? And what did we have? We had a product ID to be able to distinguish which product it is, and then we had the quantity. So that's the first part of the equation. You understood that. The second part of the equation is whenever I go to my cart, depending on the quantity for that specific item and the product ID, I show different products with different properties. So there are 2 things that I am actually juggling around. The first thing is the product. The first thing is this cart item right here. But the second thing is when I go to my cart page, I need to access all these cart products as well. Now, if you take a look at it, cart product, that's an array of objects. And then cart item, that's also an array of objects. So I have 2 different arrays responsible for one specific product showing 2 different sets of properties. That's why I said this is going to be a little bit more complicated. This is not difficult in the grand scheme of things, but when it comes to this application, this is the most complicated part of this application because you have 2 arrays, and depending on what you have in one array, you need to tailor the other array. And I'm going to go over this step by step. So what do we have first? Keep in mind, everything comes from our data. That is the products. I just imported that as well. So we have our data. That's an array of objects. That's an array nonetheless. From this array, I don't want to get all the items. I want to get only the items. I want to only filter this for the items for which the product ID that is added inside of here. Remember, this cart, it has a quantity, but it does have a product ID as well because this is cart item. So I want to make sure that the ID that exists in here is the same ID that exists in here because these are 2 different arrays as I just showed you. This is cart item array and this is the cart product array. And now just to make matters worse, we have this one in here as well. We have this products array as well. So there are actually 3 different arrays that we need to juggle around, not 2, but 3. So from this original big mother array, I am going to filter out some stuff. What are going to be those stuff? Every individual stuff is going to be called a product. Now, what do I want to filter? I want to check if the cart item has the same ID as the product item. I want to cross-reference these two. So if I want to check the cart, I need to select the cart. And from there, I'm going to say find a cart item that has the same ID as the product ID, because we need to make sure that it is the same item that we are selecting from our data. That's the first part of this, all right? So I'm going to say product dot, there we go. We got the description, the ID, the image, the name, the price, the rating, reviews, and URL. Where is this coming from? This is coming from our data. So let me just make this smaller. Let's go to our products. If you hover on this, you get all of this. And this, the first dot, this product, you can see that's the loop agent from our filter. This filter array method, it has in a parameter, and on that parameter we have all the individual products that we have from our products array. This is going to get one individual product. Now when it comes to these array methods, most of them, they work for one specific item inside of that array, and then they iterate over the other items, as many as there are, and it repeats that pattern for all the items within that array. So what is the pattern? The pattern is we want to get this product.id, and we want to make sure it's the same as the cart item.product ID. There we go. See? So on the cart item, where is our data? On the cart item, we had the product ID, but on individual products, we just have the ID, not product ID. We just have ID. That's why these names are different. So now I know which product it is that I have selected from my product's data, and that is in accordance with my cart item. So far, everything is clear, right? So I could just write this in form of comment. We have our data, which is called products, and we get the ID for every individual product. We have our cart item, and then we get the individual. We have this cart. On the cart, we have individual cart items, and from there we get the product ID. And then we have our cart product, or the big product. And on there we have an ID as well. So we have cross-referenced this data with our cart. So we cross-reference these, and we are sure that we have selected from our data, from this products.ts, the items for which this cart ID is the same. So now that I've selected that, I need to check this product ID of this cart with this final one as well. So I can show all of that in here. And how does that work? So outside of everything, so on this filter method, see this, let me zoom this in, this pink or purple parenthesis, this last one. On there, I'm going to do a dot. Now, this is still an array, right? We filtered some items, but that is still an array. That's why we have all of these array methods. And I'm going to select the map, and I'm going to map some stuff. So what it is that I want to map, I'm going to say product. And how am I going to map this? What do I want to do in here is I want to cross-reference the product, the ID for individual products with the ID for the products that we got from our cart. All right, that's second step. Let me name these. So this is 1, and this is 2, this is 3. So we did 1, 2, and now we need to do 2, 3. So we are in the 2, 3 part. And for this one, I'm going to say cart.find. Just find the items for which the ID is the same. How am I going to implement that? I'm going to say product dot oh, come on, product. It should be the same thing, right? Yeah. So whoops, I forgot the function signature, the methods, the actual method signature. So for every product, what do we want to do? We are going to say cart.find, and cart item is going to be product.id if that's equal to cart item.product ID. And let's save this. It's going to basically help us. Prettier is going to help us prettify this. Now, this could be a little bit confusing because we have this product here and we have this product here. But trust me, these are two different parameters because they're used in two different functions. So what I can do here is I could just name these differently so you're sure that they are different parameters. So this first product, since this is the parameter for a filter method, I'm just going to say filtered product. That is going to make more sense as well. Just copy it, put it right there. So now you know this is the filtered product, and then we have the cart.find, and I'm going to call this found cart item. Let's just copy this, put it right here. So now you see these are different. For this one, I'm going to say mapped product. Let's just copy this, put it right here. And since this cart item itself is unique, I'm just going to keep it there. Now, after all of this, what do we want to do with this? We want this map to return the product for us so we can show it inside of the cart. So we want it to return something. I am going to put this inside of the function block. And after that, let's say const cart item, since this is going to be an item for our cart. That's going to be our cart item, and we want to return it. Now, keep in mind, if we add a product to our cart, we don't want the existing cart products to be removed in the process. So I'm going to spread all the mapped products that we have gotten, and we are only going to get the quantity property, quantity, and we're going to set it to cart item dot product quantity. Let's save everything. And there we go. So this cart products is done in here. If I come to here, we have added this. If I go to the cart page, let's take a look at this. So we need to import it in here as well inside of our cart page. So in here, if I just say cart products, we should be able to have access to it. There we go. We have our map. And in here, I could just say product. And what do I want to do in here? Well, let's call it cart product, since we are inside the cart. I want to generate some HTML. I want to generate some JSX. So what kind of JSX do I want to create? That's extremely preferential. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with my method. Now within this div, we are going to go ahead and create a different div. Now the reason behind this is so we can lay these out better. And there is going to be a link element. Where is this going to go to? Now, if I come right here, if I click on any of these images, it's going to go to their specific product page. Let's click on it. There we go. Let's click on it. There we go. So we need to come up with that as well. So this is to, where is this going to go? This is going to go to the individual product page. Remember? And I believe we have implemented something like this in here where we said, okay, product is going to, if you click on any product, it should go to the product.url. And we had this, we just have this link. So from this, I'm just going to copy this so you know it's the same thing. And let's just put it right here, and there we go. So we have this product. Instead of that, we're going to say cart product dot URL. Let's close this as well. Let's come right here. What is this going to say? This is not going to say anything. This is going to include a figure element. The figure element is going to have an image inside of it. The image is going to be cart product dot image. There we go. And for alt, as usual, we're going to say cart product dot name. Yeah, name is a good thing, right? Let's come to our own application. Let's reload the page. We don't have anything, so let's keep adding items so we can see what it is that we're actually styling in here. And there we go. So far we got the images, and we're going to go step by step, and we're going to complete everything. Next up, I'm going to create another div. There is going to be a paragraph. The paragraph is going to have the cart product dot name. And after that, we are also going to have the price. So let me add that $sign. Price. Let's save that. There we go. So we got the name and we got the price. And from this point onwards, it's extremely simple, as you might have guessed. And now we are done with this div. With this div, we're done. Let's just go outside of it. Let's go to the next div. And in here, we need to add the buttons, the plus and minus buttons. So if I take a look at the completed application, we did all of this. The classes and the styles I'm going to apply later. So we need to add this part as well. Let's click there. And for this one, let's create a div. There is going to be another div inside of it in there, and we're going to have a button. This is going to decrease the quantity. Where is our product page? Right here. So let me close this home page, and there we go. So within our product page, what did we do? If I come right down, there we go. So we had a button that had the job of decrementing the quantity, right? And we're going to have the same kind of functionality in here. So the thing, but the thing is this minus button, if you click it below below 1, it's going to delete this from here, right? So let's just copy this, come right here. I'm just going to put it right here. And now we need to have this remove from cart from our cart. So remove from cart. Let's save that. We still have to change this to cart product. Copy that, put it right here. That part is also done. What else seems to be the problem? There is this quantity. We need to import the minus. And then we are going to have this quantity. But for this one, we're not going to use this because we are not going to disable it if the quantity is less than 1. We're just going to get rid of this. We are going to remove it from the cart. And you can see with our current implementation, let me just get rid of these disabled classes. I just noticed them. With our current implementation, we have no way of just clicking this and getting rid of this. So we need to come to our cart context, and we need to basically, we have the add to cart right here, and then we have the remove from cart in there. And what do I want to do here? So if I take a look at this set cart, this is going to basically have this current cart. We map over the items. We check the product quantity, and if it is the same, we spread all the properties for an individual product, but we decrease the quantity by 1. But what if the quantity goes below 0? So we need to take care of that as well. So on here, I'm going to say filter, and I'm only going to filter out the content or the products that have a quantity higher than 0. So for this one, I'm going to say filtered item. What is this going to do for me? This is going to basically make sure that filtered item dot quantity is higher than 0. If it is less than 0, we're not going to show them inside of the cart. Let's save this. And now if I click on this, you can see the item just went away. It's just gone. All right. So we changed that functionality a little bit. But if I go to the individual product pages, if I come right here and click on it, you can see it doesn't matter, because where are we going to remove it from? We're not going to remove it, so it's just going to stay here. But we're going to remove it from the cart. And now we have 3 items. And that's the minus button. Let's go to our product page. We're going to have the quantity, and then we are going to have the plus button. So I'm going to copy both of them, come right here, put them here, and this is going to be cart product dot quantity. It doesn't exist on this. I'm going to fix it in just a few seconds. Let me just put that there. Let's bring in add to cart. Add to cart. Let's save this. The page is gone because we don't have this quantity. And how are we going to solve this? What do you think? Where should I add the quantity? Because it doesn't exist on the product. Let me just show it to you. So if I do a dot, we have the description, the ID, the image, the name, the price, the rating, reviews, URL. How am I supposed to add this? If I go to my type, you need to trace back your types. That's something that you need to keep in mind. So we are right here. This has a type of cart product, and that we know. That has a type of cart product. So if I come right here, we have this cart context type. It comes originally from our context, and then we have this cart product. What is this? Where is this? So if I come right here, there we go. So that's why we don't have the quantity, because it doesn't exist in here. Now I could just say quantity, and I'm going to say type of number, but this is going to give me a lot more errors, because aside from the fact that I want this quantity inside of my cart page, I don't want to have it inside of my home page. I don't want to have it inside of my product page, nowhere else. So it's going to throw a bunch of other errors, because it is saying you're getting something that is not accessible. So I don't want it to be there. So one solution for this would be to create another interface for this. And this one, we could just call it product. And this product is going to basically extend our cart product interface. And how is it going to do that? Now, naming this product is not going to make a lot of sense, because we're only going to use it inside of our cart. So I need to change these two names. This cart product is going to be the product that we are using inside of our cart, but this interface is going to be product, because all of these are products, right? So I'm going to say this cart product extends the product interface. And that's why I like interfaces. This you can't do with any other type. And it's going to have one thing inside of it, and that is going to be quantity with a type of number. And there we go. So we have our we have our product right there, and everything seems to be okay. Now it doesn't have a type of cart product. This is going to have a this could have a type of it could have a type of cart product, because the cart product, if I hover on it, if I come right here, it has everything else. So it has inherited all of these, and it has added the quantity onto it. So what else? Let's come to our context. If I hover on this, what seems to be the problem? The property type number is undefined type number. So if I go up, there is no error right here. So if I come right down, let's take a look at this a little bit in depth. It is talking about this type of property quantity. It's not compatible. So let's break it down. It says type number undefined is not assignable to type number. Type undefined is not assignable to type number. And why is it saying that? So where is this type number? If I go to our cart products, again, we have this quantity right here. So if I hover on this, you can see it says type number, and then, oh, the type undefined is right here. But then inside of our types, we just said it has a type of number. So we need to get rid of this type undefined from this quantity. And you can see here we have the optional flag that was added automatically. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to add something that is going to say this is not null or undefined. And that is the non-null assertion operator, this exclamation mark. Now that this has been done, let's just save this, and there we go. Everything should be okay. So now if I come right here, and if I do the dot, we should be able to see the quantity, because this cart product is actually extending the product. Now it makes a lot of sense. Let's bring in the plus. Very good. Let's save this, and there we go. So I could increase this. You can see, since we have one context, one giant idea of our application, it surrounds everything. There are 10 items, 8 here, 1 there, and 1 there. And we should be able to get rid of these items, decrease their quantity as well. Now, after this plus, there is supposed to be a trash icon here as well. So that's going to be another button. The button is going to basically remove the item completely from this, from our cart. And this is going to basically say, let's just bring in trash 2. There we go. This is our icon. Do we see it? Oh, there we go. And now on there, we need to implement some functionality. So I'm going to say on click. What should it do on click? On click, it should run a function that is going to be called delete from cart. And now which item do we want to delete? Now, if you remember, we have actually provided this type delete from cart. So it requires some parameter with the type of number, but it doesn't return anything. Let me save that. Let's come right here. And to this, I'm going to provide cart product.id. And we don't want it to run immediately. So we want it to only run once we click. So we are going to run it as a function in here. And what is this? It doesn't say anything else, and that should be it. So we need to get it from our context, and we need to create the function definition as well. And let's get it from our context. There we go. We got it. And now below here, I am going to create the function definition. So it is delete from cart. It is going to have a product ID, which is going to have a type of number, and this is not going to return anything. What do I want to do here? Now I want to do some changes to my cart, so I need to select that state setter function, and I'm going to grab our current cart. Now keep in mind, once we click on this, we don't want to remove the other items. We just want to remove this specific item. And how do we know which item it is that we're clicking on? Well, we have that item's ID, so we need to check that. I'm going to say if the current cart dot, so current cart, that is an array. Let's filter through it. And in each iteration, we're going to get something called a filtered item. And what is the job of this filtered item? The job of it is just to check the ID. So I'm going to say filtered item dot product ID. Now, what am I going to do here? Filter is going to return the items for which a specific condition is true. Now, if I say return the items for which the product ID is the same, then once you click on one item, it's going to remove all the other items. It's just going to keep that. But we want this filter item to return the products inside the cart for which the ID is not the same. And I'm going to explain that again in just a moment. Let's just implement it first. And this is going to be equal to the product ID. Let's save this. There should be some syntactical error. Let me put this inside parentheses. So where does this end? There we go. Good to go. Save this as well, and there we go. So if I click on it, that one goes. If I click on the CPU, CPU goes. So let's add the mouse, add the keyboard, add this one, and add this one. Basically, what we're trying to do inside of our cart is to mimic the reverse. So this filter that I just created inside of this context, this filter, right here, this is going to return only the items for which, let me just make this smaller, there we go, for which the product is not the same. The product ID is not the same. It's going to return those items. Why? Because if the product ID is the same, we don't want to return it, we want to remove it. Now keep in mind, when I'm saying return, I'm saying showing inside of the cart page. So this filter is only going to show the items that the ID is not the same. What is the ID criteria? What it is that I'm actually comparing? You need to go to where you have implemented that function right here. So to this delete from cart, we have added an ID, and that ID belongs to that specific item that I'm hovering on, like this mouse. This mouse, it has an ID, and I've passed it to this cart. And I said that if this ID is not the same as the other product IDs, do not return this, aka do not show it, aka delete it. So we indirectly say delete it. Directly we're saying don't return it. So if it doesn't return this item, which items does it return? There are 5. If it doesn't return 1, 5 minus 1, you get 4, and it returns all the other 4, because the ID of the mouse item is not the same as the ID of this keyboard or this monitor or this card or the CPU. And that's why you need to pass in IDs for your product, so your React can keep track of which ID belongs to which product. And that's why it's very, very important for us to do that. And I haven't done it inside of our cart page. So here we have our map. So right here, I need to say key and cart product.id. Well, it did work, but the reason was because this ID comes from the cart product. It doesn't have anything to do with our HTML. It comes from the type that we have created for it. And it comes from the data that we have. So you can see each product has an ID. That's why it worked before adding it to here. Now, once we have added it to here, React can keep track of this product inside of this page better, right? It could do it before, but now it knows really what is happening, and it still works. Cool. What else in here? We need to implement the styling, and I'm going to implement the styling, and then I'm going to complete the total, or we could complete the total and then implement this, all the styling at once. So I did a lot of things. Let me just collapse that one. We had all of this. We went through our entire products, and we got only the products that exist inside of this cart. We checked the ID. We did all of that. And we showed all of them programmatically using this map. And now it's time for our total. Now, when it comes to total, we don't have to put it inside of this map, because this map is going to run for as many times as there are items inside of the cart. But the total, we don't want it to run that many times. So I am going to go outside of this div, and in here, I'm going to create another div. And within this div, we are going to pass in the total number of items. And now immediately you're going to see there is an error, because there are two things that we're returning from one JSX. So there is one thing and there is another thing. And what is the best way of doing this is to use React fragments. So let me just use that, put everything in there, and then save it. And now everything is working perfectly fine. So in here, there is going to be a paragraph. I'm going to say total. Let's add a space in there. And after the total, there is going to be a span just for styling purposes. This is going to show the cart product. We have something inside of our context. We have this cart total. We have already calculated that. Let's put it in here as well. This is a number. We haven't calculated that. We should calculate it, right? That's the cart total. So this total, we have not done that. So I'm going to go on top of our cart products. Do I keep this or do I just remove this comment? I could keep it. So beneath our state in here, we need to take care of the total. Now the total changes depending on the items that we add. So there is a UI change. And when there is a UI change, you are sure to have some use state. So this use state is going to have an initial value of 0 because initially the total is 0. And then the idea of this is to calculate for us the total. So cart total and then set cart total. That's what it's going to return. Now you know where this cart total is coming from that we pass into our context provider. But what are we going to do with this set cart total? Well, with the set cart total, we need to actually go through our cart, get all the quantity, combine it, and I'm going to store all of that inside of a variable, and I'm going to call it total. That's going to be the name of the variable. So what do I want to store in here? I'm going to grab my cart products dot, and since that's an array, I am going to use some sort of an array method. And now I need to think what kind of a method that I want to use. Because if I take a look at my cart products, that's a big thing. That's a really big thing. And we can see that if we come right here, we have this cart product. We have all of this plus this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the review has this review. Where is the reviews? This, all of this. So there is like 14, 15 different properties. So that's like a big item within our array. And then our array has as many items as there are products inside of our cart. So there is like a lot of things inside of our cart products. But we don't want to get all of those things. We just want to get one thing. So we have one gigantic thing that we want to decrease it or like trim from it and get one thing. AKA, we have one big thing. We want to reduce it to give us one simple thing. And that's why we use the reduce method. So these array methods, all of them, they have something. They have some specific idea that, and they should be used in that specific context. And the idea of this reduce is to reduce something big into something small. And what do we want this to reduce into? Now, this is going to accept two things. It's going to accept a sum that is technically, conventionally, you're going to say sum because this is going to act as the aggregator for our array, for our reduce function, and then it's going to grab the item and it's going to do something with this. Now, what is this going to do? We're going to say return. We want to grab all the items, item dot. As soon as I do dot, I'm going to grab the price, and I'm going to multiply this by the quantity. That's how you get the total, right? So if there is like 10 mechanical keyboards, 10 times 69.99, you're going to get 699.99, right? $70, $700. So we're going to say item dot quantity. We know that part. This part is clear. But the thing in here is that we need to sum this, and then this is the total. What we show beneath is the total. We need to sum this. Okay, we have one item. Let's add this. This is 10. We have 10 of these. That's almost 700. I need to keep that in mind. And maybe I have a few of these, a few of these, a couple of, or maybe like a couple of these. And then I need to keep all of this in mind. And then I go to the next product. I count it. Next product, next product. That's why we need some sort of an aggregator to hold this in mind for us. And that's something that we're going to call as the sum. And this reduce is going to accept some other value that is going to be the starting value for us. So it's going to accept 0, which is going to be the starting value. And now let's move forward. So we have our total. Let's save this. What is this? Block scope variable used before its declaration. Oh, we're using this before this cart products, because we have the cart products right there. So I'm going to cut this, come beneath here, put it there for now. Now, so far we have this total, which is a number, right? So what am I going to do with this number? I'm going to give it to the set cart total, because set cart is a cart total is a number. Set cart total is a number that's going to change that number, is a function that's going to change that number. So I'm going to copy that, come right here, and I'm going to pass in the total in there. Let's save everything. Let's come right here, and in here we're going to have cart total, total. Didn't we import it? No, we didn't. So let me say cart total. Are we exporting it from here? Yes, all of them are being provided. So we should have access to it. And as soon as I save it, we should see something. We don't see anything. What's the problem? Let's go to the inspect, come right here. Too many re-renders. React limits the number of renders to prevent an infinite loop. Yeah, what's the problem here? What do you think the problem is? Like if you're creating React applications, at some point you're going to see this. The reason for this is this, set cart total. We're running this infinitely. Because this is like re-rendering this infinitely, and that's why there is an error. Now, if you want to stop this infinite re-render, what kind of a hook do you use? Let me just save it to get rid of this error. You use a effect hook. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to say use effect, and this is going to do this calculation for us. And I'm going to pass that there. Now, this use effect is going to have some sort of a dependency array. Why do we need this use effect? Because React is constantly updating the UI. It's re-rendering the UI. And once it does that, it is calculating the total for us as well. And it's returning that as well. That's not something that we want. What we want is, we want to only change the total once the cart changes, not once the UI changes or anything else, or once the UI is re-rendered. So that's something that use effect is going to allow us to do. So inside of this use effect, there is a second thing that it requires, and that is a dependency array. The dependency array is going to specify what this use effect code is going to be dependent upon, and then it should change itself. I'm going to say whenever the cart changes, then it should change itself. Now let's reload the page. You can see there is no infinite loops. Come right here, add this, this, and this. Let's go to the cart, and there we go. We got the total 1429. So as soon as I click on it, there is more items in there, and the total increases. But there is this thing. You can see we have a lot of zeros. So we need to fix the UI. I'm going to say cart total.to fixed. And how many points do I want to fix it by? Let's just say 2 points. And there we go. And now if I increase this one, the total is going to change. It's 6709. And click on these, 6829. Very good, right? Let me just add a few more. And there we go. We got 7039. And yeah, should be okay. Everything should be okay. So if I were to increase an item, I can increase it. If I decrease it below 1, the item goes away. Let's decrease this, or just click on this trash icon, and then click on this trash icon, click on this, and now we have 13 items, all of which are CPUs. Let's just click on it. There we go. We could click. Everything is working properly so far. The only thing I need to do is I need to implement some styles. And as I said, I'm just going to pause the video. I'm going to implement all the styles for the cart page, and we're going to go over the code, and we're going to wrap up this video. So for you, it's going to be see you in a second. And we're done. So this is the final styles for our application. I forgot to add an O in here. Let me just close our completed app. And this is the app that we worked on. There we go. Simple e-commerce. Let's come to the HTML and let's add simple e-commerce app. And there we go. Let's say continue shopping. Let's add some items. This is our big app. Add some items. Let's go to individual item. There we go. There is that one. If I go to the home page, there is still 9 items. Let's go to individual items, go to cart, and there we go. So we have 15 items and we don't need to refresh this cart as well. We have 3909. If I get rid of this, it immediately updates that. Get rid of this. There we go. There we go. 99.98. And this is how it's going to react depending on the screen size. So if you just make it smaller, this is how it's going to look on small screen sizes. And this is, you can see there is just a lot of changes in the UI. And then there we go, and that's it. See? It's really responsive. Let's go to individual pages. See? Very good, right? Looks awesome. Very good. And with this, our application has come to an end. Let me go over the code just to make sure everything is okay. Let me just close this, close everything. So we have, what did we do in here? Zoom this in. We created the source. We have the components where we have the reviews and the nav bar. All right. We have our cart context. Do we have anything that we have actually commented out that we need to target? No, we don't have anything in here. That's good. We have our products. We have the layout, very minimal. We have different pages, cart page, okay. The home page, perfect. We use this, not found page. The not found page, shouldn't we like apply a little bit of styles? Let me just apply that, not to waste too much of your time. Whoops, this is just a section element with a little bit of styles, just going to style that not found a little bit better. So if I come right here, if I go to somewhere where it doesn't exist, we have this nicer UI, page not found. Okay, that part is also done. We have the product page. Everything seems to be okay in here. We have the index.ts or the types.ts, app.tsx, the routing, our cart provider, the main, and that should be it. Yes, that should be it. I am going to change this README with this README. I'm going to do this later, not on video. And this project link is, of course, in the video description. Feel free to access it and do whatever you want. Let's reload the page. Oh, there we go. Very good. I was worried for a second that our nav bar is broken. And we don't have anything here. One final check. I'm going to add all these. Let's go to this. If I say 0, there is nothing. The button is disabled. Add to cart. Go to cart. We have a total. Get rid of this. It works. If I go below 1, it goes away. Below 1 goes away. And just delete it from there. There we go. See, everything is working perfectly fine. And that's it for this video. I had a lot of fun. I hope you learned what the context API is and how you can work with it. So please hit that subscribe button and see you in the next video.